Okay, what's up, everybody? Um, so wow, how about Shipwrecked Becks live, right? Dude, like that was fantastic. She is that was her first live, and I would have never ever known that if I didn't already know that. She Yeah, I can't wait to see what she does when she is when this comes when she becomes very very comfortable with herself going live. Yeah, say Robbie, she was something else, man. So we're gonna do here is we're gonna kick it. Like we're just gonna have a little bit of fun. It's gonna be very very lighthearted, very very chill, and it's not gonna be too long because it is 3:35 in the morning, and we'll see where we go. We'll see what happens. Um, but I I wanted to do something chill earlier, but I wasn't about to miss Shipwreck Beck's first live. Because I watched her videos. And I think excuse me. Uh I think Robbie actually was I think that's where I first heard about her. Um wow. Hey, thanks, Robbie. I think that's where I first heard about her, and then I watched her videos. Um and and yeah, I she was extremely insightful. But they were recorded. She didn't even seem nearly as comfortable in those videos as she does here. Uh just doing this, it seemed like she just was a fish who took to water right away. It was fantastic. And it was inspiring. And I am immediately a fan. So I am looking forward to what she's going to do next. Um, so let me say what's up to everybody here. Wow. We got Plumy Plumy, Doodlebug, Carla D, Tanya, Audra, Carla, Rhonda, breaking the silence, Miss Demeanor. Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, yeah, so we are going to yeah, so what I was gonna do, it was really funny because I found it really, really I found it really coincidental because in those last few minutes that Becca was live, we were talking about music a lot. And last night I was going down a YouTube rabbit hole where I was just watching little short snippets of Henry Rollins. Uh, and Henry Rollins is some of you guys, and I think a lot more of you know who Henry Rollins is than I thought, having been in Becca's chat just now, and it was really cool. So it's going to be a lot more it's going to be a lot easier to make my point that I was going to make because this guy to me is a beautiful example of what a creative person is. This is a guy whose work ethic is unlike anyone's I've ever seen in my life. And I've what's funny is I'm not even a huge Black Flag fan. I like Black Flag, and that's where he got his start. And and hey, Shipwreck Beck, you're not done yet because I'm gonna drop a link and you're gonna join me on panel for this because you are gonna have a lot of insight on this stuff that I'm gonna be talking about. So let me do that right quick. I'm gonna drop you a link. And yeah, man. So yeah, I'm probably not going to I'm probably gonna get some copyright dings here because I'm gonna play some video footage, but so I'm not gonna get to I won't get any monetization. But oh well, I'm that bad boy, I guess, that never gets the I get C's, not A's, guys. That's that's the kind of school kid I am. I get C's and D's, not A's. I might learn I might learn something in school, but I'm not turning in the homework. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm that guy. What's up, Soul for Music? What's up, Mignon? Catherine? Um, yeah, man. So I'm gonna go ahead. Let me see and see if I can set this up right here. I'm gonna go ahead and set this up because this dude is something else. Um, and let me see if I can remember how to even do this. Oh yeah. Here we go. All right. So just so you guys get an idea of who this guy is.
Do it because there's not do the same size venues that we do, but you're splitting the money with all these fucking people.
Yep.
And then a lot of times today, the record company gets a piece. They get a piece of everything, right? They get a piece of your merchandise.
Yeah, you see bands play really big places, and it's amazing how much money they don't make.
Yeah.
Or each guy in the band gets, you're like, really?
Yeah.
Huh. And then you see, someone like a small comedian playing like a 150 seater for 2 nights, 2 sets a night, the laugh, whatever in the Midwest. And you're like, wow, that's a pretty good weekend. Like, because he's just taking it home in his suitcase.
Yeah, you can get by.
You
Easy.
can get by.
Yeah, and you can work. You can work everywhere. For a band, I think it's more the venues are more limited. Places you go are more limited.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's interesting that it was almost like a desperation to not have to work a job as a waiter that kept you just hustling.
Well, I just knew
Ways.
that the straight world, because I've been in it, I come from it, minimum wage work and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and I knew I couldn't survive in it because you get as a young adult, you start to figure out who you are, and I go, okay, I'm not an artist, but I'm an artist type. I'm nuts. You can't put me in a straight job. I can pass for normal just because I can task it. I can totally do it. Like you can put me in a Ralph's, a Kroger's, a Starbucks. I will totally get in there and hit the work and clean it all and serve it up with a smile. But I'll be going crazy inside.
Yeah.
I will be
I think
punching the wall.
everybody in those places is going crazy inside.
I don't know, but I can't sustain in that, and I haven't had to for many years. I've been lucky. I've been in the world of lunatics since 1981,
Yeah.
being a crazy person out with other crazy people. And when I look at a straight job, I'm like, man, I don't think at this point I could hack it. Not because I'm spoiled, just because I've never had to tether my adult mind to that. I work 7 days a week, but on Henry stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
me. It's not.
It's a different thing.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, you enjoy that work.
Yeah, and it's way over 60 hours a week. I mean, I do 2 shifts usually, 2 8 to 10 hour shifts, depending on
Every
the
day.
workload. Well, I can't do 4 hours of sleep a night, but
How much you sleep?
I time my sleep. I hit the stopwatch on the phone before I go to bed. Just clock sleep patterns. I did about 6 point something hours of sleep last night.
That's good.
It's good. I feel great today. I barely ate, and I got in a good workout. And all last night, I played 15 7-inch records And between flipping them over, I got a beam in my living room. It's a beam coming out of the ceiling that supports me. And I just run over there and just do a bunch of pull-ups and then go change the record. So you want more music, you have to pay in.
And you're doing all this by yourself, all alone.
Yeah. But by bedtime, you are hurting and ready to
You mix the workout in with your enjoyment of music. Just face it.
Last night was pulling. Tonight at the turntable, I'll be listening to more records. I'll just do sets of push-ups next to the turntable.
That's actually a smart move because, like, that's probably a good interval of rest. Like, get a good hard workout in, and then you listen to a 4-minute song.
Yeah, and then I do it all night. And it's just I'm not doing 50 sets, 50 rep sets. I'm doing like 15 to 25, but I'm doing them for quite a while. By the time I go to bed, it's Advil time. I'm like, ow, I'm too old for this. But I work on something every day on tour. I don't take vacations. I'm not trying to brag. I just can't. I can't handle not doing it. Whatever the thing is. Yeah.
Well, you found an interesting way to live life. I don't know anybody like you, but it's working for you.
Yeah. It works on all levels. And like I can sustain, I pay my bills, I'm not bored, and I get for the most part to call my own shots.
And you seem happy.
Happy when I'm working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
happy with the tasks.
Yeah, I value work. I'm an achievement junkie. Like if I'm depressed, I just pick something to do, like finish a radio show, edit this thing, transcribe this chapter from a notebook. And after I'm done, I'm like, okay, that's the antidepressant was actually doing something, which is not the worst. It's not booze. It's not a pill. It's the treadmill.
Yeah.
Or it's that damn thing, I got to get it written. Well, shut up and write it. Yeah. And when I'm done, it's like an endorphin thing where I'm great for another day.
There was an article written about happiness, and that was one of the things that they said, that one of the things that seems to sustain people's happiness or facilitate happiness is accomplishing tasks.
It's so refreshing to hear someone that you admire say the same things that you've taught yourself to. It's incredible.
Major keys to happiness for a lot of people.
Works for me. Totally works for me. Because I've tried everything but drugs. Because I've been battling with depression since I was a little kid. You know, I just knew, what is this? It's just awful. And, you know, later I found out it was depression. And I don't want to do drugs. I just don't want it. My brain plus drugs. It's like someone else's idea. It terrifies me. So I had to figure out, what do you do? And so that's where the gym, working out really is a big help. Writing. But listening to music, that is like kind of my drug. I just put the records on and like 3 songs in, you're like, oh, there's that feeling. Buoyancy neutral. It's like floating in the tank, or when you're scuba diving, you get your air just right and you're floating. That's how I feel when I have the music on. I'm like, this is as good as it gets. And that's why I always have, record. I'm always looking at new records, going to the record store. There's more happiness coming in.
Yeah, so this guy is incredible to me. And this I've been listening to him do spoken word and things of that nature for a long time, for quite a few years. And this is a guy who I always knew him to be the kind of guy who just works and works and works. And he also has a podcast. And what's cool about his podcast is there's nothing organized about it. He goes on, he does it with his assistant and his manager. Actually, it's his manager, and her name is Heidi. And she's been his manager for something like 20 years. And they do the podcast, and the podcast is basically just him telling a story. Because a guy who stays this busy since the 80s, since the early 80s, a guy who stays this busy has stories. And it's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing. So I'm going to share a couple more things here, like, because I did not know that he struggled with depression. I did not know that. Um, so that's kind of crazy to hear that. Um, but one thing that I listened to last night uh, during this interview was, and I'll play this for you, and I think that you guys will find this extremely interesting. Um, So yeah, I'm gonna be playing this stuff. I'm not gonna get any monetization because I'll probably get copyright bullshit because of it. But it's whatever. This is much more beneficial to me is to be able to share this stuff with you guys. But it's really, really interesting to me um, how. Hold on. But I think you'll find this very, very interesting.
Freak bitches.
And I'm just trying to like in high school I was like, the wise ass kid who had awful grades. I was on Ritalin. I was a mess. And
You're on
so
Ritalin in high school?
I was on Ritalin since like right out of preschool.
Holy
If you
shit.
look at the early government documentation on Ritalin, this is not a joke. Oh, there's these big books. My mom had them. There's photos of me. They tried Ritalin out. I was part of a test group.
Holy
And
shit.
we would get little orange tablets, and then we get little yellow tablets, and we have triangular orange tablets for a while. And I went to a place called the National Research Center, and I was a hyperactive kid. And they said, "Here, we're trying this stuff out." My mom had me on Ritalin from like preschool all the way to 12th grade.
Holy
And in the
shit.
summertime, summer vacation, I wouldn't take it. And within a day of that stuff kicking itself out of your system, man, your appetite comes back. And in ninth or 10th grade, I started weightlifting and I started like throwing the pills out because it's an appetite, it's speed. And so it suppresses your appetite. And so I'm going through puberty, my hormones are raging, and I stopped using the tablet. And all of a sudden I'm that guy at lunch with like the line of milk on the outer edge of the tray because I'm eating like, tons of food. I'm a locust till I'm going to the gym, and I'm just getting really, my frustration is now being informed by a physicality that I'm getting by lifting weights. So also I'm putting muscle on, and I'm angry at the world, and I'm a spaz. And so by 12th grade, I was kind of a maniac. And then I got into punk rock and, just got into that slugfest and just kind of went into the world, just kind of wildly swinging away.
Why did they put you on Ritalin at such a young age?
Because it's what they were doing in America with a lot of young people who talked too much or, had bad
Who had
social
life.
skills. Well,
Who had
I
energy.
had attention deficit and I couldn't concentrate. And
This
I
is
got
so
thrown out of the
interesting right
decent
here.
public school system for being, he's yelling, he's doing this. And I actually read a couple of teachers' reports about me years later. And I said, I had no memory. I said, I did all that. My mom went, yeah, and that's why they kicked you out. They kicked you out of school.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got kicked out of a few schools until they put me in a prep school where the advertising is like, oh, your kid has problems with studying, we'll cool him out. And the first few days of school, some kids spoke out of class, and I watched this one teacher pick this one kid up and just kind of toss him into a blackboard. I went, right, in his class, you shut up. And so I didn't want to get a thrashing by a teacher, so I was always really careful. But having that difficulty sitting down, and I was fine with topics I liked. I didn't groove on math or any of that. But at lunchtime, I'd go to the library and start memorizing the Latin nomenclature of every North American snake. I had to learn them all. And by like 10th grade, I had. And I have most of it still in my head. But
I'm always very confused with these mental distinctions, whether it's ADHD or hyperactive or ADD, whatever the fuck it is. Like, is that real, or do some people just have a different composition, a different passion inside of them, and they resist doing things they don't want to do, and they don't want to be a part of any structured school curriculum.
I think all
And
of it.
but yeah, and is that a disease? Or is that, or do you just have more fucking? Look at right now.
I
You
think
don't
it's
have any pills. You're not on anything, and yet you have all this passion for life. You have all this. Isn't that the same shit that you had when you were 6?
Yeah, it was undisciplined and unfocused.
Right, but that's not a disease, right?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't call it a disease. I think it's just wired.
Right, but why the fuck is it named? Why is it ADHD? Why is it?
So they can sell you a pill.
Well, you look back at your own
Exactly.
life, the fact that you were on that shit for, I mean, what? How many?
A lot of years.
8 years, 9
Yeah,
years.
and it really screws with you because you can feel it when you take the pill. You can, you're basically you're a propeller that spins so fast. It looks like they're like spokes of a wheel, like the wheel is still. It's actually going really fast. That's how it felt. Like on the outside, I'm like this pale, skinny, like, but inside, I'm like the last few minutes of Dave in 2001, where he's going through the space-time continuum and everything is flying by. That was like 10th grade for me, where I just kind of held onto my desk and fairly flew through classes, like not being able to retain much because I was just speeding my brains out. And then the pill would wear off around dinner, and all of a sudden you're like eating 2 meals. And the next morning you take the pill and you don't eat again for hours.
That is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts.
And
And
it scares the shit out of me too, because my parents didn't put me on anything like that, but I know I would have. I know I would have been diagnosed. I know I would have been put on something if I had the wrong parents.
yeah, they put me on, my mom put me on this stuff probably because my doctor said, hey, Iris, this helps a lot of kids.
Right.
But I was in these classes, and I'll never forget when I was going through my mom's book. It was this big fucking hardcover book, and I opened it up, and I saw these pictures, and I'm like,
Sorry, I'm trying to turn my phone off.
there
Hold
were
up.
these mirrors on the wall for observation rooms. Because I'll never forget, one day I'm looking at that mirror, and a door opened from the side. Mom walked out, and they were being observed, and the camera angle was from that observation room. And there's me playing with like blocks and stuff. I'm like, I remember that sweater. Oh man, I'm like 4. And that was part of that research group.
Wow.
And maybe because my mom was a government employee, I don't know. But I went to a place called for 2 years called the National Research Center. I got thrown out of there for wounding a kid.
What'd you do to him?
Powdered cement in his face.
I've never seen this interview.
There's so much interesting shit about it. And like I'll play more, but I want to elaborate a little bit more about what he was just talking about. I don't know how much of that you heard, Becca, but he was talking about the fact that he was on Ritalin since he was a small child, and then basically stopped taking it in secret once he hit about like the 9th grade, 10th grade. And he and there was just something about him that knew that he was being suppressed. His spirit was pretty much being suppressed. He didn't word it that way, but that's the best way that I could try to explain it. And he absolutely, he gets into I'll actually play that part of the interview too at some point, but he starts to what he does is he discovers weightlifting, and he discovers just exercise, and somehow the exercise, which is, I talk about this all the time, but the thing is I had no idea that Henry Rollins, this person who I've admired for so long, had these ailments, and I had no idea that he engages in exercise for very much the same reasons that I engage in exercise. But I don't want to I don't want to come off like I'm comparing myself to this man, because this is a very, very, very active person. And when I say active, like you said yourself in your live that we were just in, Becca, you were saying that that you have some of his books, and and he's just a very, very busy guy. This guy is he's a man of many hats. And
I wish I had half the energy that guy has.
well, what's funny
You know?
is it's nervous energy. And I've heard him say that before, but I just didn't understand it. Because what was funny was I used to drink so much, and I would listen to this guy drink. I would listen to this guy when I'm drinking and watch his spoken words and just relate to a lot of what he's just talking about and connect with what he's saying, but not on that level, which is really ironic because he doesn't drink, which I found amusing when I was drinking. You know what I mean? I was just
It shocked me when I found out that he didn't drink at all. Like, I was just like, where does this guy come up with, like, just some of the energy and some of the stuff he says? And he's so straight edged. And I'm like, I wish
yeah,
I
and
had
it's
that.
not about right. What's funny is it's not about any belief that he has. He doesn't judge anybody else for drinking. He doesn't judge anybody else for doing anything. He might judge their behavior if it's alcohol induced, but he'll judge them for that behavior, not the fact that they're drinking. If that makes any sense. But he'll, his whole thing is just like, he didn't like the way it made him feel. He felt like it suppressed him from doing what he needed to do. And we're talking about a guy who travels everywhere, and he makes it a point to go to places that he's told, where the narrative is you can't go to those places because you'll get killed. And he's the guy that will find some way to get a visa to that place, and he'll just go head first into that place by himself, and find somebody to pay him out of pocket to be a tour guide, and just to learn, just to observe.
I would say that I kind of have a bit of that personality, though. Probably not in the way that he has it, because he's probably got the money to be a bit more, explore a bit more. But I've
Sure.
always kind of been that person that will dive into something if whether or not my friends are doing it, it doesn't matter. I'll do it. I'm in.
I see. I've never been that person. I've always been. I think a lot of it was, for me, it was lacking self-confidence. I just didn't see myself being that guy to do that. Now, if I had the money, absolutely, I would travel everywhere, and I would just, I would live out of a bag, but it's this guy. It's really, really funny to listen to him because he, you of course you're familiar with Ian MacKaye, which is his best friend, the frontman for Fugazi and Minor Threat.
Was he the guy that passed away?
No, Ian MacKaye
No.
is still very much alive.
Oh.
But they were best friends in DC growing up. It just so happens that they got successful in their own way. They both shared this work ethic. But neither one of them actually gave each other the boost to do what they did. Ian MacKaye was already doing Minor Threat, and I think the Young Ones, I can't remember, I could be wrong, I can't remember that other band's name, but he was also doing Fugazi, and they were just good friends. And Henry Rollins was just a guy who hung out with him, and they listened to a lot of the same music and went to a lot of the same shows as kids, and he was never doing the music thing where Ian MacKaye always was. And he got up and sang with Black Flag one time because he was at a show and they liked the way he sang, and then they later offered him a place in the band. And so he just started going from there. And at the time, he was working at Haagen-Dazs.
I know exactly what you're talking about now. I looked it up and I'm like, yeah, it's been a while, but yes, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Haagen-Dazs, and even Rollins brings that up quite a bit.
They work together at Haagen-Dazs actually, which is
Yeah.
where if you listen to Henry Rollins' podcast, he tells there's one podcast where he tells us the whole podcast is telling stories of when the two of them worked together at Haagen-Dazs, and it's hilarious. It had me in tears laughing because you could
That's
totally
so
see
awesome.
these 13-year-old, or 15-year-old versions of these guys doing that. And it's just so funny. So welcome to the Glare.
Hey, thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for coming on. I think I can speak for everyone here when we say that we absolutely loved your first live.
I was so nervous. I was just like, what the hell am I going to
Oh,
talk about today?
you didn't seem nervous at all. It
Oh.
was fantastic. I wish that I had when I first went live, my first live was about a girl named Noah Pothoven who committed suicide and arguably had help from her. She arguably was enabled and assisted even. And she was a girl, a 17-year-old girl in the Netherlands. And I came across that story. It had just happened. What I did was I pre-wrote everything. I typed up everything I was going to say because I was so afraid of choking and going live. I didn't start going live until a troll actually like shit on me for reading a script, and that kind of got to me. and
You know what's funny?
It's so
I
funny
always
that
have
I did that. Oh man, yeah, right. But you didn't this time. You probably had something like notes or
I
something.
had tabs open.
Yeah, like
and
bullet points and
yes, yeah.
Yeah, which is just an organized way to do it. I never do that anymore. But the only reason that I never do that, it's funny because I was fine and my listeners actually enjoyed. They didn't care that I was reading off of a script, off of a pre-written script. Because I actually took that off of a Critical K's page. She was doing that, and I was like, oh, okay. She was my example of what to do when to go live, because I started off doing lives with her. And so she was doing it, and I thought that, well, that's the way you're supposed to do it. And so I did that, and it was fine. And then somebody was in my chat and said, oh, he's reading a script, I'm out of here. And my chat defended me. My chat was like, oh, who cares? They're still his thoughts. What difference does it make? And they were right. But then I just felt like, well, fuck that. What, you know what I mean? Like, are you trying to tell me that I can't just sit up here and talk? That I can't just, so
hold a conversation
with myself?
How dare you?
Right. Well, fuck you. Watch this. And then I started doing it. And then when I started doing it, I think I just started speaking about something that I felt really passionate about. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then and then I got a really positive response from my listeners, and they were like, you were so raw and so real. And then I was like, well, this is what I have to do from now on, because now they've seen me be completely and totally raw and real, and I would be doing them a disservice if I was any less than that from this point on. So I never pre-scripted again, and that was months ago.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I don't know if I think for videos when I do those, I still would like to have a script or something that I'm going off of. But I think for lives, it's not it's if you kind of have like a topic that you can discuss and you are, passionate about it, and you know what you know enough about it, you know what you're going to say, I don't think it's necessary that you have to have like a script written out to like make it make sense. Are you still there?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you went out there for a second, but it's because it's weird. It's the streaming thing that's doing that, because I'm also looking for another clip here to play as well while you were talking, so that there was no dead air, and that failed.
I can keep talking.
Yeah, please do so.
No, I definitely don't think like, like having the bullet points certainly helped to like keep everything rolling and all that stuff. But then at the end of it, it was just kind of like, you can just say whatever you got to say. And the chat sort of keeps you engaged enough that you can just, talk from there. And, certainly people have a lot of talking points, even in your chat right now, like with Carla talking about, the back pain and the surgeries. And yeah, like I had doctors push tons of medication on me, a shit ton of medication on me, where, now I'm at this point where I'm like, am I even really that sick? Or was this all just like some big ruse to, get me on medications and sell me on something, like
it's very like some of the people who are critical of me think that I am anti-medication. I'm anti-medication for me. I'm in no way saying ever that nobody should be on medication. I know that there are people who take it and it works for them, and that's fine. But I know myself. I worked really, really hard to learn who I am and learn myself inside and out. And I want to be able to manage these struggles that I have without medication, if possible. And so far, I've proven to myself that it is. So my whole thing is, I truly, I mean, the fact of the matter is, let's be honest, doctors are basically drug dealers. Their job is to, they get bonuses from pharmaceutical companies to push their product. That's just the way it is. That's how the business works. Money, real money and real sales in pharmaceuticals don't come from cures. Take a pill and then that's done. It comes from treatment. So it's big business. There's always a treatment for something. I mean, they have pills for restless leg syndrome. Restless leg syndrome even being a thing blows my mind. But the thing is, yeah, I do not think that taking medication should be, I think taking medication for something should be the last resort. It should be the fail safe when all else fails. So I do encourage people, I encourage people to not be so quick to be dependent on something. And I just, for me, it's I don't know. I feel like yes, medication can be helpful, absolutely, but I don't feel that it's as necessary as we have been taught that it is. That has been beaten into our minds that it is, because we're told to take medication before we are told to go out and exercise, to take nature walks, to meditate, to pick up a hobby, to listen to music. We skip all these things and we're told, hey, just, take this pill and you'll be fine. But you've got to take it on a regular basis, and you've got to refill your prescription. And if you miss your prescription, or if you miss a dosage, then that could be a problem. And I don't think that there's 100% truth in that, and I don't think that that's fair to say that for everyone. You know, if you have this problem, here's your issue. That to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. It makes more sense to me to if you're a doctor, if you're a specialist, and you're sitting there and you're trying to diagnose someone, find out what's best for them, get to know their personality, and find out what works best for them. Don't just look at them and be like, which medication is going to be the best thing for this person.
I think our society is just so messed up now, the way that it operates. And I can't remember if it's Doug Stanhope who does this stand-up comedy for this, but he's talking about like people taking pills, and he's like, I hate my job. All I do is file all day. And, you know, he's like, well, of course you're going to be like fucking banging your head against the wall. Like any normal person would be if they had to do that every day, you know, like he's got a really great stand up for that. But he talks about like how we're just using medication to sort of just like get through the redundancy that is our lives now. Whereas this would not have been the case, you know, even, 70 years ago at all. We would have to be doing something, you know?
Right. Yeah. I completely agree with that. I actually like Doug Stanhope, but I've never heard that before. I like Doug Stanhope for political reasons. I'm not a libertarian, but for some reason I like libertarians a lot. But I lean towards it to a certain degree. If you haven't noticed, I'm real big on fix the problem yourself. Don't depend on somebody else to fix it for you.
Well, you have to though, because
right.
the whole system is broken at this point, and there might have been a point where you could have been able to rely on that at one time, but now it's just like the only person that's coming to save you is you. That's right. It. You know, that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way around it. When it comes down to it, I mean, we leave this world alone, man. That's just that's what happens. Whether you like it or not.
Well, yeah, and I think only within the last like year or two, I've just gotten to this. Like, I used to be like a really big hoarder, and I used to always have to save everything and be super sentimental. And I've kind of gotten to this point where it's like I realized like I could get by off of just like making sure I have like a few clothes on my back, cigarettes in my pocket, and I can just like be very simple. I don't really need a lot of stuff, and I'm not taking any of that shit with me anyway. So like, yeah, I guess minimalism probably is going to work for me in the future because I don't see the longevity with it ever now.
Hey, what's up, Amber Alert? Yeah, I completely and totally agree with you. I have become very much a minimalist when it comes to material possessions. I like to only have what I need so that I don't get spoiled, so that I don't get dependent on things that don't matter really. And it's very, very I don't know. It's very, very, to me, it's very liberating when you get to a point to where you start to think on a logical level and evaluate everything that's in your life, as far as what's absolutely necessary and what isn't, and how much help do you really need? How much support do you really need? Because there's people out there who don't have any support at all whatsoever, and they still manage to flourish.
Yeah, and get by without
not just get by, but succeed. It happens all the time. There's a guy that I listen to from time to time. He's more about he's more about entrepreneurship. But if you listen to his philosophies, they apply to pretty much anything. And he's his name's Gary V, or Gary Vaynerchuk. And he discusses he's a very figure your shit out and get it done, and nobody is going to do it for you. And the thing is if when you look at that from a logical perspective, it's empowering.
Which guy says that?
Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V. It's hard to pronounce his last name.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually just ran across him like so recently, maybe in the last like week. Actually, I wrote it down as I was perusing Shanann Ruchek's Facebook page. Actually, doing research. Believe it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a motivational speaker, but he's an entrepreneur, and he started with a wine company, and he's really, really funny to me. Actually, I'm gonna find my favorite clip of this guy just to give you an idea of why I like him. But
I wrote something down, actually. Hold on, let me look for it. Because I was doing a lot of research, and then I came across something that I found super interesting. So I think I wrote it down, actually. Let me look here. While you're looking, I will be looking.
okay. Okay, I found it. And I think this is the clip that I first saw of this guy, and I was like, I gotta hear more of what this guy has to say. And I don't invest everything in, I just like to take bits and pieces of what people say and go, it's nice to see someone else who's successful think of these same philosophies that I think of. It's refreshing because it makes me think that I'm not a crazy fucking idiot.
Right? I agree.
It's very validating.
I totally agree. I'm just going to look too for this one thing that I wrote down. But also, I think sometimes when you come across stuff like that, it's interesting to me because I often wonder, like, I wonder how many of my thoughts would actually like go if I actually put myself out there,
I mean, you're putting yourself out there. I mean, I do this because I just enjoy doing it. And then it becomes so much more rewarding. The perks of it are when I get messages like I got today, as a matter of fact, because of last night's live. I had no idea what I was no, that's not true. I knew what I was going to address more or less. There was a mutual friend that we all have that was doxxed yesterday. So I addressed that without naming any names, but it bothered me and I had thoughts about it. So I wanted to share those thoughts, and I wanted that person to know where the people who care about her, where our minds are when it comes to that. So it just doesn't matter what these people do. And I felt that kind of, I didn't think she needed it, but I knew it wouldn't hurt to send her that kind of love. But then I had no idea it was going to go into what I ended up talking about. And then what I ended up talking about somehow touched a nerve with a lot of people that were listening. And I got a lot of emails and I got a lot of messages and comments. And then it just makes me, it fires me up to want to keep doing this and keep going. But you never know. Absolutely. I mean, you might make a very valid point at some point, and then somebody might take your valid point that touched the nerve with them, and then they share it somewhere, and then it spreads. You just never know. But that's not why I do this at all. But I talked about this yesterday, as a matter of fact, that we put ourselves in a position. We absolutely put ourselves in a position for that to happen. So you've got to have thick skin. You're going to be open to criticism. Things, people are going to troll you. People are going to be jealous of you, and people are going to, and if you're very real and you have controversial opinions, people are going to want to shut you down and shut you up and do whatever they can to do that. And you just have to be willing to deal with it. But you have to stay resilient. And if you truly believe in what you're saying, then you're going to keep saying it. And that's just the way that is.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly it. And if I probably would have done this like 5 years ago, I'm guessing just from my personality that I may have, I probably wouldn't have been as, it would have been easy to criticize me. It would have been easy to trigger me. It would have been easy to like get under my skin for sure. But then so many things have happened to me since like all of that like now it's like I'm self-aware enough to know that if I get constructive criticism, I will take it. And even if it's hidden in like condescending remarks and rude behavior, I'll still think about it enough to like, see if there's anything in there of value. Because sometimes you can find valuable things in real shitty things, as I've learned in my life,
I think you always can if you make a conscious effort to look for it every time.
Yes.
I'm learning that, and I share that on my channel all the time. I'm fascinated by that. And it's really funny because I've learned also that, and I made this observation when I first started my channel too, and it's proving correct. And I talked about it, and I kind of talked about this in the chat and your live as well, where the observation that I make, because one of the things in the glare is rationality. And one of the most fascinating things that I've noticed about applying rationality and making a conscious effort to always be rational is and behave rationally is that irrational people, you don't have to eject them from your life. They will eject themselves from your life. It will naturally just happen.
Yeah.
Because it's like you were talking about in your live just before. You were saying that these people were, these people will eventually just get tired and move on. That's based on the same philosophy. You and I share the same opinions on that. What will happen is these people feed off irrational behavior. If you don't give them back that same irrationality, they don't draw that irrationality out of you from their irrational behavior, or as a result of their irrational behavior, then they're going to gravitate somewhere else where they can get that. It's not you that they want. They want the irrational behavior out of you. That's what they're fishing for. That's what they're going for. That's what they're trying to feed off of, is your negativity that you can give to them. But if you don't have any negativity to give to them, then they're just going to move on. They're just going to get fucking bored and move on. And then what'll happen is they'll just end up finding each other. All of these negative people in this community will just find each other and just feed off of each other, and they're just back and forth. And then it'll be the same 4 or 5, 6 creators that have the same fucking agenda, and these 2 will team up on that 3, or actually it'll be those 3 teaming up on that 2, and then one of them betrays the other, and then they go back and forth, and then there's this whole zigzag of negativity back and forth, but they keep it amongst each other because nobody else wants anything to fucking do with it.
Well, that's exactly what they've done to James, or Misery, I guess, is that they, these guys are from, so like some of this stuff goes way back to like when live streaming kind of first started, and they had like Radio Wars. And so like on Radio Wars, all these dudes like the Ian Ellis LLC guy, and Cosmic Cam and Helen DeKellar and like all these people that we're seeing right now were all involved in that, right? And they would interview like cam girls and porn stars and like, you know, talk about some pretty dirty shit. And you know, those guys were just as disgusting then as they are now, like very much so. And I know I've talked to Misery or James about this, and he said there was just like this one moment for him where he was like on a live, I think, with Helen DeKellar. And I don't know if you've ever seen what that guy looks like or how he behaves, but he said there was just this moment for him where he was like, what the fuck am I doing? And he just like shut it down, and he like he was just like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just done. So he stopped, and he just like shut everything down, and it really pissed those guys off. They got really upset about it. There's a lot of other things that happened within that community too, that's led up to some of these guys becoming like super big gang stalkers as well. But so after that, he like went on to do like Misery Box TV, became super successful at it, and those guys got really, really pissed off about it. Like really pissed off about it. And they didn't like the fact that he had shut that shit down and moved on, and because he was talented, became super successful away from that shit. So what they did was they like took these YouTube videos, like the audio and stuff from back when they were like talking about masturbation with cam girls and porn stars and all that shit, and then spliced it. And this is where he said he made his mistake, was he, you know, whenever he would, you know, reach a certain amount of subscribers on his Misery Box channel, he would do like live Q&As. And he said this was probably where he went wrong, and if he could change it, he probably would. But because his like audience at that time was like, you know, younger kids all the way up to like 35 was like his main audience, he would just let them call in and, you know, just do Q&As, and there's like nothing crazy about it. But what they did was they spliced that shitty audio with, you know, the little kids calling in on his Q&A on a totally different channel, and moved it together. And that's why you get what you get when you see those videos. But they just pound those videos out at everybody saying like, oh, he's this, oh, he's that, you know, just all this bullshit, just because they don't like the fact that he became more successful than they were, you know. And if you look at their channel sizes, they're very small. I think they've been gaining subscribers since they started doing this with Jamie. Not many, but like their channels, I guess, what you would say, are growing, not at any exponential rate. That's for sure.
And what's funny is I suspect that they're just using her, because
yes,
I mean, it's so. Right. It's obvious that she's so hated in the community that people want to know what she's doing. She's made a reputation for herself to where everyone hates her so much, to where they're just like, you know, what shit is she talking now? Who's she trashing now? And that's the only thing they're listening to her for. So when you latch on to that, you're bottom feeding the bottom feeder. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's so.
And she's so pissed off because like James came into her lives, and he you know, I don't know how to describe it, but he like came into her lives and started talking, and like he was definitely an I guess more of an asset to her, really, like than she could ever be to him. And when he realized that she was super opportunistic, he decided that like that was enough of that and moved on. But you can tell like she's just so pissed off, right? Like that ended, and she's just on a mission. She's like, well, if you're not gonna, you know, support me, I'm just gonna like trash the ever living shit out of you and make it worse for you. And I guess for me, just like looking at it from her perspective, I'm like, man, that's gotta be like a really shitty place to be in your head, because I've never gotten to that place before, and I've had a lot of bad shit happen to me, and I've never gotten to the place where I would hurt somebody like that and destroy their financial livelihood and try to destroy them as a person just because I was upset that they were trying to end a friendship or a relationship with me. Like could never get to that low depths of, I don't know
Right.
what the
It's
fuck that
just
is.
right. It's not in your DNA. It's not in mine either. And like I will explore it just a little bit just to try to understand it a little bit. Kind of like Robbie just described, walking into a burning house just out of curiosity. I've done that. I've done that here in this community, and and I got burned. Not bad, just enough to go, okay, that's hot. Thanks, but no thanks. You know what I mean? Um, but at the same time, like I knew the building was burning. You know what I mean? I could just tell. But there were people in it, so I wanted to see what made them so impervious to it. What made them fireproof? But the truth is they were just feeding the fire. So I have no explanation for that, but I realized, like, okay, this is gross. I don't want to do this. And I knew that in theory in the first place, but I thought maybe there was some sort of game to it. Maybe these people weren't really into the drama. It was just something that they were giving subscribers because subscribers like it. It was just smart. It was just a smart way to promote your channel. And I was like, okay, well, maybe maybe there's something to that, and it's fun in the process. But no, it's nothing like that. It's seriously a diluted, sick mess is what it is, that I just can't even begin to relate to. And so it was very easy for me to just go right back to what I was originally doing with my channel, like before I even really deviated from it. So I mean, and here I am. So I came back to this just to, oh, I lost her. Hopefully she'll come right back. But I came back to this, and I have a stronger support system than I did before, which is pretty weird and bizarre, but very cool. But going back to that, okay, so while Beck's computer updates, I'm gonna play this Gary V clip. This is the first thing that he ever that I ever heard him do, but this made me like totally relate to this guy because this is exactly how I would deal with this situation. So hold on, here we go.
Basically, my question is on weed startups.
Weed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, I heard it.
Okay, so there is a company called Get Meta, backed by Y Combinator. They're calling it the Uber for weed.
Everybody's calling everything the Uber of everything.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I'm the Uber of humans, bitch. Go ahead.
the Uber of weed is actually really cool because you can like type in your zip code and then live conference with the doctor, like
Yep.
get your card, all that.
Okay.
Stuff. But I live in Houston, right?
Okay.
So that's legal for me.
Good.
So it doesn't work, right?
Okay.
Now, the other dude, before you started talking about
Steve.
yeah,
Okay.
the rise of the rest and everyone having an opportunity.
Okay.
Everywhere. So, what about people who are like selling or who want to? Okay, I feel like drug dealers are entrepreneurs of.
At the purest form.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously. Like,
My question is, if somebody who's born into wealth, right?
Yep.
They live in Silicon Valley. That's cool.
Yep.
Okay, they need to get $150,000 license a year. That's not.
don't get it twisted, man. Stop your hate real quick. Most people that get money from Silicon Valley don't come from fucking Silicon Valley. So stop it right there. But keep going. But I'm not letting you just cliche it because that's bullshit. It's just not true. Go ahead.
Okay, so now, okay, an entrepreneur like me, what if I wanted to study cannabis?
Then move to fucking Denver, bitch. Fuck Houston. Because that's the current law. Texas with all my heart because I'll tell you exactly right to your face. Listen, I hate Houston more than you fucking hate the system right now because I built a wine business where I shipped wine, and this fucking bullshit ass state took Specs money, the politicians, and blocked only one store from shipping to Texas, me, because I was at the top of the heap. I was doing $4 million in sales here, saving all Texas people money because I was creating competition, and the wholesalers, 3 of them, paid your fucking bullshit ass Houston politicians to block me from shipping here, and one day I got a letter and said, you can't ship here anymore. So what am I supposed to do? I can open a store in fucking Texas and throw down, or I can adjust. That's what you have to do. Nobody gives a fuck about your feelings, bro. No, but for real. And the reason I'm coming at you like this is I'm pumped for you. You're a kid. Like, don't cry about, here's the biggest problem. Bullshit entrepreneurs cry about the way they want it to be instead of reacting to the way it actually is. So you need to eliminate rich kid, because I was born with dick. I lived in a studio apartment with 8 family members on the size of this stage and split toilet paper. Okay? So there's no excuse that most people that are born with wealth, bro, they lose because they're soft. So if you're so angry, put it to good energy and go move to Denver, or enjoy 19 to 22, chill, then move to Denver, or wait for the laws to change. You can't cry about how it is. That's just never, ever, ever, ever the right move. Good.
Yeah, dude, like that resonated with me so hard when you hear someone just validate that simple philosophy. You cannot just sit there and bitch and moan about the way things are. You're never going to get anything done by complaining. You've got to adapt to you've got to accept how things are, adapt to it, and make it work for you. I mean, you're not gonna become successful within the boundaries of the law by crying and moaning. Trying to do something that's currently illegal. You're gonna have to simply adapt. So what do if you're trying to become an entrepreneur with marijuana? You're not going to do it in a state where it's illegal. That's fucking crazy. Just because you don't think it's right, it's the way it is. So so it's just very simple. It just doesn't make sense to sit there and fucking whine about something, because you're not going to get anything done by crying and whining. It's just never going to happen. See, and Manda, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm like the opposite of an entrepreneur. But it depends on what you're looking for, right? Right now, I'm not interested in monetary success necessarily. Sure, if it happens, cool, but that's not something that I'm passionate about. What I'm passionate about is actually just the seeking and maintaining happiness. That's my concern. I'm proving to myself that I can be happy with very little. I can be happy despite my clinical ailments that tell me that I can't be happy. I can achieve this because I'm doing it. And so I love to talk about it. I love to share it because I think anyone can. The only difference between me and anyone else who can't seem to make themselves happy is the fact that I have eliminated making excuses for myself. And I truly believe that. I truly, honestly believe that. I am in complete and total control over my own happiness because I've taken that control. I've taken it. I don't rely on anyone else for my happiness. I'm not, I'm just not. I refuse to be one of those people that just sit there and go, well, I could be happy if it wasn't for this motherfucker over here. I mean, there's nothing, there's nothing stopping me but me from achieving anything that I fucking want. Absolutely nothing. Because if you're sitting there and blaming somebody who doesn't give a fuck about you for why you're not where you want to be, then guess what? You are turning over the power of being where you need or want to be to that person who doesn't give a fuck about you. And I promise you, if that certain someone doesn't give a fuck about you, they're not going to give a fuck about you getting to where you need or want to be. There's just no where the fuck is the logic in that? That makes no sense. So no. you don't get to have that kind of power over me. I'm not going to sit there and blame you. I'm not going to empower you by blaming you for my problems. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Why the fuck would I do that? So that's exactly that's exactly my mind frame right now. That's exactly my mind frame at the moment. And I having that mind frame is extraordinarily empowering. Like I can sit here and just not. I'm impervious to anything anyone says to me. I'm completely impervious to it because I say it all the time. If you have this overwhelming problem with me, then well, that's your problem. It's only my problem if I make it my problem. But I'm not doing that. I got other shit to do. I'm trying to get other shit done. That's slowing me down. That's more shit for me to carry while I'm trying to move. That's heavy shit to hold on to and carry around when I'm trying to fucking move, dude. So no, you're not gonna lay that shit on me. You carry it. Or drop it. Whatever. That's your problem. That's not for me to worry about. It's not for me to deal with. That's for you. That's for you. But you're not going to lay that shit on me. And I realize that sounds a lot like, I'm being a kind of person that's like, well, that implies that I feel like I can do no wrong. That if I do something wrong to someone else, that's me negating any responsibility or accountability for it. No, that's not true. Because if I'm genuinely trying to do something positive with myself, right? If I'm genuinely trying to do something positive with myself, and I'm genuinely trying to make better decisions, and I'm genuinely grateful, then yes, of course, there's no reason why somebody who is close to me can't you know tell me if my actions are affecting them in a negative way. That's completely different than what I'm talking about. But if you're if you're sitting here telling me that you can't be happy because of something that I'm doing when all I'm trying to do is focus on my own shit, then whose problem is that? That's not my problem. So yeah, I'm not I'm not falling into that trap, man. I'm not falling into that trap. I mean, you know, if if what makes you happy is me doing whatever it is that you need done, then that means that you're dependent on me in some way. That is automatically your problem. You don't need to be dependent on me. There's something wrong if you're dependent on me for your happiness. Because I'm not dependent on you for mine. So why am I all of a sudden left with the burden to be uh in charge of whether or not you're happy or not? But see, when you have a good functional friendship with people, you know, you want to have a nice positive exchange. You want to just have, hey, uh I'm cool with whatever. You know, that's the way I am with my friends these days. That's the way I am with my friends. Hey man, I'm cool with whatever, you know. I'm down for that. Sure. But if it means that I'm putting myself in a position to where I have to somehow go backwards from what I'm doing, no. Yeah, that's out of the question. That's out of the question. If you and I can move forward doing something to where you're you're not putting a burden on me in some way and I'm not putting a burden on you in some way, and yet we can still find some sort of medium ground to where we can each enjoy each other's company and enjoy each other's association and benefit from each other's association while still growing, then that's the medium point that I want. But I'm not going to settle for less than that. And that's the kind of thing that I seem to have with a lot of people right now. And it works because I'm happy. And the people who are around me seem to be happy. Like, right? I mean, isn't that fair? Isn't that fair to say that right now, um, me and at least most of the people in this chat, we have a very fair exchange, do we not? I love that you guys come in my chat and you participate in my chat. You guys seem to love when I go live and I interact with you guys. You get something out of what I'm saying. I get something out of what you're telling me in response. It's a very, very mutual, even exchange. And it's rewarding to us both. Right? So these are the kind of exchanges that I look for. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad that she's streaming me. Maybe she'll learn something. Maybe she will. Maybe the people listening to her might learn something. Because here's the thing. Because I'm actually flattered that she's streaming my channel if that's the case. If she's streaming this live right now, I'm flattered at that. Because this is an example of the kind of chat that I want to have. This is the exact kind of example of the kind of chat that anybody should aspire to having. I have nothing but positive people in here right now. And you know, I mean, I'm and yeah, I'm seeing comments saying striker. I mean, here's the thing. It's not even see that's what I'm talking about. What good would that do? I mean, people like this who feel the need to stream off my channel just because of the people that happen to be in the chat, people like this who feel the need to stream my channel, that's just some sort of weird stalker bullshit. You know, where that's coming from is some weird, ugly, stalkerish kind of place. It's some bullshit place. Whereas I see a positive to that. But see, I could strike her, but what good would that do? Think about it. What's the point? She's just gonna open up some other troll channel and do it again and stream somebody else's. So whatever. Thanks for the exposure. Please knock yourself out. Share it. Cool. But see, I don't play these games, man. I don't play these games. Anybody who knows me and knows me well knows I don't play these games. I'm not gonna play little back and forths like, oh, you talk shit about me on your live, so I'm gonna talk shit about you on your live, on my live. Yeah, I don't do that bullshit. What I'm simply gonna do is make sure that you are the fuck out of my life. I will not indulge you. I say it constantly. I am a moving train. There is room on board, but I'm not stopping. You can either get on board my train or get the fuck out of the way, because you will get run the fuck down. Yeah, see, people like that, people like that, they get bored. They get bored with things like this. You know, they're not going to get anything from a channel like this. They're going to stream it and then they're going to get bored. She's tried trolling my channel before. And you know what I did? I said, hey, you have the floor. Go ahead. You've got everybody's attention. You've come into my chat and you've disrupted it. So please, please share with us. Share with us all what's so pressing. And we all just sat there and waited. And then she started just typing stupid fucking song lyrics of songs that if I never hear a fucking again, it'll be too soon. And and all she did was make an ass of herself. What was funny about that though is I gave her an opportunity to say something. I gave her a platform on a silver platter. I gave her a platform to simply to actually say something worthwhile, to actually defend herself and say, hey guys, I'm misunderstood. I may have fucked up. I don't know what I'm doing here, guys. I don't know why I act this way, and I don't know why I treat people like this. I gave her a golden opportunity to take accountability for her actions and actually win some respect, earn some respect. And what did she do? She scurried off like a cockroach. So, I mean, Yeah, that's that's the whole thing, Save Robbie, when it's like this, you know, you're saying I like the positivity throughout the entire platform that supports each other and accepts each other, even though we all have faults. Absolutely. And there's strength in that. There's absolute strength in that. Because let me tell you something, man. Like, um, what's going on here? What's happening right here? We're the misfits of, and I don't mean like the band. I mean we're like in the true sense of the word. We're the misfits of YouTube. You know, we're just a bunch of people who are trying to do. We're a bunch of creators who have kind of found each other, that are simply trying to do something positive, who see this platform as a potentially very positive place to be able to spread a lot of positivity. We're actually but we're misfits. We're outcasts because we're the type of people that you could dox us, but the stuff that you would dox us for, that's our strength. The stuff, if it wasn't for all the shit that happened to me in my past, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be thinking the way that I am right now. If somebody was like, "Oh my God, look at this," you know, look at what this motherfucker did, the way they did to Amber here. If you, I mean, if you took that shit, I'd be like, "Oh, well, thanks for sharing." I mean, what's your end game there? What's your big plan? Your big plan is to do what? Back up what I've already been saying? Prove like, you know, prove that everything that I've been saying that I've been through in my life is actually true? Yeah, most definitely. I prefer that people don't know the dirty details of my past. Sure, I'd prefer that. But at the end of the day, I mean, what difference does it really make? I'm here right now. Anything that I've said here on this channel is not going to be any different. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not going to change just because you find out that I've been arrested, or that you find out that I drank too much, or that you find out that I had a drug problem. You know, I mean, you look at Robbie, Robbie, Robbie got on his channel and he admitted things that I never thought I would ever admit. But he got in front of stuff that is fucking wild that I would never ever talk about. But I'm listening to him say it, and there I am in the chat going, "You know what, man? I've done the same shit." So when I hear another creator have the balls to sit up there and get in front of something like that, it might make somebody else who can't understand or can't relate sit there and be judgmental and go, well, what the fuck? What's wrong with that guy? But who the fuck wants them as a subscriber anyway? I don't. You know
No.
what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, so you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember I had this falling out with this one creator, where this one creator took a piece of my live and streamed it, and the whole intention was to send the message that you're nothing without me, and you gained all your subs by me helping you. And okay, sure, so that's in part true. You did put me on a panel, and you did you know, have your mods share the link to my channel, and I got a lot of subscribers. Sure, that did happen. But the thing is what was failed to be realized at that time was that The things that I said on that panel was what made people subscribe to me. Sure, you gave me the opportunity to be on a panel, but those were my words. That was still my content that was shared on your panel. And so
And
that's
people still choose, whether or not they enjoy it or not.
right. So I did lose a bunch of subscribers from that. I did. But the funny thing is that the fact that I stood by what I said and I continued to say the same things on my channel that I was saying before made a lot of them stick with me. And not only made a lot of them stick with me, it gained me other subscribers. So not only did I break even at that point, I'm ahead now than when I was then. And the only difference is I don't have phony motherfucking subscribers right now. I have people that count on me to speak my mind and be honest on here.
Are you referring to Jays for Justice?
Yes.
I didn't even know what happened with that whole situation. I heard about it, but I don't subscribe to her. There's a group of them that I kind of just like, it's like a no-go zone for me. I'm like, nope, not doing it.
And here's the thing.
Kind of part of
I'm not even trashing Jay. What I'm saying is all I'm saying is exactly what actually happened. She took something that I said about her very personally, because I'm the same guy. I said that. I told you this earlier when I was in your chat. I said that I will always defend my friends, but I will also, even if defending my friend means letting them know that I think they did something wrong. And if I'm part of a community and you have such a large platform, right? If you have such a large platform, you have so many subscribers and so many people counting on you to handle a true crime case responsibly, and you're their go-to for a true crime case, and you do something irresponsible, you made a bad decision, I'm going to speak up on it. And I didn't even name her name. All I did was say, hey, we got to be careful, guys. If we're going to be in a true crime community, you can't drag somebody like that, who could very well be very innocent and making the assumption that they're guilty. That's very, very irresponsible. And I said it then, and I still say it, and I stand by it. And that's exactly what happened. But she took it like, oh, well, I was betraying her at the time. I don't know if she still feels that way. I don't know if she popped up in one of my chats not too long ago, and she was respectful in it. I don't know how she feels about me personally at this point, but the fact of the matter is that I spoke up about irresponsible behavior, and I was speaking about the behavior itself generally. I wasn't speaking about the creator who did it, but she took it personally from me because it was coming from a place of who the fuck does this little shit think he is with his little tiny little following? Doesn't he know who I am?
Because everybody starts somewhere, and I think, like, let's just look at like some of the bigger creators out there, like Shane Dawson or Jenna Marbles or whatever. I mean, those guys have been on the platform forever, like since the beginning of time. So, I mean, it makes sense to me that, over time they would gain a following if they were like the first ones on the platform. But at the same time, everybody starts somewhere. You don't just start, with 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000. Like, we all start somewhere. So if you never give that smaller person a chance to be who they are, and you are constantly looking at people by numbers, that's crazy to me, because you got to take people for who they are and not for, the numbers that they may or may not have at the time. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, right. And I don't even think that she consciously realized that. But if you look at her actions in that case, that was definitely her mindset. And you know, that's fine. I could
Well, I
see how
do think that
that,
some creators, and I don't want to speak, like you said, like I don't want to speak directly to anybody, but I do think that there's a point for some creators where they don't, you know, they get these numbers that they have. And I think it happens to everybody. I think that there's a moment in time where you start feeling a little bit more popular, you feel a little bit more you're like stronger, or you're more confident, or you feel like you've made it in some way. I think it's inevitable that it's going to happen at some point to people, but at the same time, for me personally, I just hope that if that was to ever happen for me, that I don't allow that to take over who I am, and that I just hope that I don't view things that way, that no matter where I'm at in life, I'm not, and I hope I don't do that, just because, like, even with my life right now, like when I see people who are down and out, or I see people that are having a shit time, or, you know, they're people that other people might think are losers. Like I hate putting myself up on a pedestal where I'm thinking that I'm better than others for any reason at all, because at the end of the day, I don't ever feel that way. I just feel like a human being that's just
I
like
don't even,
like
yeah,
everybody else.
I don't even want to say you know, that it was even that far. I think that she just felt attacked, and it was just very easy for her to get on the defensive. And the easiest, most logical way to get on the defensive with me was to look at me as tiny. You know what I mean? And I get that. That's fine. But the thing is that all I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make out of bringing that up as an example was, all it ended up doing was working in my favor. That was the biggest favor she ever did me, as a matter of fact. And the reason why why I see it that way is because I'm not here for numbers. I like the numbers. I'm grateful for the numbers I have, and if I get more, great. But I'm not here for numbers. I'm here to talk about things that are very, very real, that I'm very passionate about, and hopefully it connects with someone else who feels passionately the same way. And so what happened was, as a result of those efforts, when she lashed out in the way that she did by streaming and saying, okay, well, I have all these subscribers that are going to hear this guy say something negative about something I did. And it was a very short little clip, but it was on her page. And then all of the comments, I mean, were like, oh, how dare he? Who the fuck does he think he is? And blah, 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 blah. And it was really, really, it was really childish. Like it was, it was, and I see her as being better than that, to be perfectly honest. But I think that she was just angry, and I felt that she felt a lot of pressure at the moment, because that she just had this interview with this person, and she wanted to be very proud of it. And this huge case broke right in the middle of her interview. So I could see her being excited about that, but also being very confused by it at the time too. And it kind of getting to her a little bit. And not really knowing how to react. Or maybe she did. I don't know. Maybe she totally knew how to react at that moment, and she did exactly what she meant to do. But it wasn't a side of her that I had seen prior to that. I actually really enjoy my interactions with Jay. And I still, what's very funny is I don't feel any differently about her. I never did. That particular action did not sway my opinion of her as a creator. It didn't at all. I just felt that the action itself was something that we have to be careful not to do. And I pointed that out.
I think some
No,
people get
it
sensitive.
doesn't matter to me who fucking does it. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a shit who did it. I'm saying we got to be careful not to do that. So she got defensive.
Well, and I
and
think that some
how
people
we're
get
where we're at.
sensitive, and sometimes I think people have a hard time sometimes with criticism, and they, like for me, if somebody criticizes me, I don't think that that's like the end of everything, or I don't think that it's a bad thing, but I do think sometimes, depending on your personality, you can be like people can be sensitive and like automatically think like maybe this person thinks bad of me now, or it's changed our whole friendship or whatever. They have that sort of black and white thinking, and I don't think people mean to have that. They just it's part of their personality, and then later on they kind of realize like, oh, like maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, and it could have just been like a rash judgment of emotions, right? So yeah, I see where you're coming from with that.
And that's what I think it was, that we're all guilty of that happening. So I don't feel, like she's not like fucking, you know, like Limonade, who has just done
I was
nothing
just gonna say,
but negative shit constantly. Like she's nowhere near that.
no.
She's actually done a lot of good. I think, and I actually talked about this yesterday or the day before, where I think the most impressive thing that I've seen a YouTube creator do, and most positive thing I've seen a YouTube creator do for this community, was the way she exposed Oni as a swatter. That was incredible because she put a lot of work into that. She did it like seemingly without effort. I mean, there was a lot of work into it, but it was just like, okay, this needs to get done. This guy is not getting away with this shit. And she just fucking went at it, and exposed him and got on top of everything else. Now, a lot of it was fueled by self-defense, because he was trying to frame her for swatting himself, which was fucking insane. So there's no way I
Yeah.
mean, anybody would have done what she did. You're not gonna fucking, no, you're not doing that to me. Nobody. That's not gonna happen. You're not gonna make me look like this motherfucker. I'm gonna expose you for what you are. And that's exactly what she did. And I thought it was a thing of beauty. So, because what that is my tune has not changed. I think that the true crime community can build and maintain a very solid sense of integrity, to where it resonates into the mainstream world, to where this could be a place to go, an extra place to go, an extra resource to use to help find missing people, to help solve cold cases. I mean, you get enough attention on a case. Look at you look at the Watts case and the attention that had. Now,
Well, look at what happened with Luca Magnotta. Like, those people were just pissed off about the cats, and they like started like finding lampposts on fucking Google Map and like went berserk trying to find this dude.
And but also you look at the fact that nobody really gave a shit about this case that much until that documentary came out. Now that documentary is out and everybody's talking about it.
But you know what?
So,
I've always been super interested in that case because I'm Canadian, and that guy did some pretty fucked up shit. Like when after the cat incident, and he went on to like slaughter and like decapitate and like saw this guy up and send his head to our prime minister in Parliament Hill. Like, it was crazy when that broke out in Canada. And those people that were going after the cats, because that's what originally they were going after, were like so close to him by the time he had done that to an actual person. And it's interesting. It's funny because a lot of people are interested in that case now, but I mean, I've been interested in that case since I guess probably because it just hits close to home, being that it was in Canada and stuff. But like, that case was crazy, like from the get-go. And if you look at old interviews of him when he's trying to get on a reality TV show for plastic surgery, and just how robotic and lifeless he is, it's insane watching that guy. Just insane. it's but that's exactly what I agree with your comments. Like, if in this community, when you could get people together and you could spread word about missing children or missing people or anything, where you can get a large sum of people scouring through documents or Google Maps or whatever, that's incredible, like
Right.
absolutely incredible.
I mean, the power of social media is very, very underestimated. Uh,
Hmm.
and make no mistakes, this is social media, but you have people doing very, very, very professional. Uh, I mean, you look at Misery's channel. Misery's channel is extremely well produced for an independent channel. The quality of it's fantastic. um and that has a lot to do with why he has as many subscribers as he does. He gets people's attention. He knows how to get their attention and get them to listen to him, and he's very engaging. um and his voice is very engaging in itself. Um and he has a very great way, like I talked about it yesterday, as far as how my perception, just him talking about his thoughts on Randy Stairs, made me kind of second guess my first instinct, which was like, this is just some shitty little emo entitled piece of shit kid who, fuck him for doing what he did, to actually empathizing with him to a certain degree. But then, after watching the video today, I was just like, no, I was right about that kid in the first place. Fuck that kid. but but his channel had the ability to get my mind flip-flopping back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Because he had a way of doing that. He would describe his thoughts on this person, which were back and forth, and it all made sense. He had a way of making it all make sense, which is what I liked, what I always liked about Critical K. Critical K does very similar things. She will just come up with very, very controversial perspectives, and 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 a part of her is just doing it to fuck with her audience, to get them pissed off, to get them angry, to get them thinking. And if you end up hating her for it, well, then that's your fault, because all she's doing is presenting a particular perspective. It doesn't necessarily mean those are her opinions. And even if they are her opinions, that's a reason to get angry and hate someone. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's what I think, like, for me, when I decided to kind of hone in on Jamie, like, I was just doing whatever. I don't even know what the fuck I was doing. And then I think because I've always been on YouTube watching people, and she was just somebody that had rubbed me the wrong way really early. But like, just because somebody rubs me the wrong way personally doesn't mean that I'm going to like go after them with a, pitchfork and, take people on. But over time, when I started seeing what she was doing to people like Kay and to Menza and stuff, and I don't like those people per se, like I don't like their opinions, but it's never going to be enough for me to like start a witch hunt over somebody, except when you get into like the realm of destroying a community, destroying people's lives, when you're like, trying to go real life on people, and you're getting yourself so wrapped up in harming people, I think that's kind of when there just kind of sort of needs to be a call to action on that. Because it's like, you can disagree with somebody, you can have arguments with somebody online, you can not like somebody, and people can know that you don't like them. But when you start like attacking people to the point where you're like, live streaming their lives and like digging through their past and making them feel shitty about who they are as a person, like, that's just fucked up to me. And like, that's why I decided to kind of focus in on her, hone in on her a bit.
Sure, yeah, and it's empty,
and give her a fucking taste of her own medicine,
Sure, yeah, and it's really empty. But I've dealt with people like that who are real quick to just put everyone else's shit out there, and it wouldn't matter if you put their shit out there, because they're gonna deny it, or they're gonna make excuses for it. and they're going to find a way to make themselves out to be a victim in some way, and they're not going to take any accountability for it. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't fucking matter. Like Misery made a really good point when he was talking about this stuff earlier. Like none of that shit fucking matters. If somebody doxes you, you know, and puts your shit out there, nobody cares, really. You know what I'm saying? Nobody really cares.
No.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I was saying, it was like that, you know, when I was talking about, you know, Jay getting upset about the fact that I said what I said, and then she streamed that part on her you know, and put a video out there, and it got everybody, you know, got a bunch of people all riled up. But there was a bunch of people who just simply were like, well, you know, I'm not going to stop listening to this person because somebody else told me to, or somebody else
I've started seeing
is underlining bullying me to not do it. You know what I'm saying? So people just will resist that sort of behavior. People will, you know, and the other people who don't, again, like I said, at the end of the day, it did me a favor because it helped me just weed out the kind of subscribers that I don't want anyway.
Oh yeah, and I kind of start looking at it honestly as like fucking free promotion. It's like, all right, well, whatever, I guess. Like,
right.
I think that people make the mistake of thinking that just because they put a video out there about you, that, or they say bad things about you, that automatically means that, you know, the people that are listening are going to think the exact same way as you. And I think that's a mistake that people make quite often, when really, like, people may not think like you, and they might actually think the opposite.
Yeah, it's a very irrational thing to do because it's very presumptuous that, like you just said, that everybody's gonna all of a sudden, you know, well, this is why I don't like this person, and I have so many faithful followers that they're gonna feel the same exact way. And a lot of them did, but a lot of them said they did and then turned out not to because they just wanted to, you know, because people are sheep, man. You know, it happens, and it's really fucked up because you know, there's a good majority of people who will just go with who's popular and what's going on. Where's the majority going here? Because I don't want to be left out and be the odd person out to where everybody hates me, because I don't even want, you know, I don't want to be treated cold in a chat, you know. And that's a big fear. People love walking, you know, joining a chat and being like, well, you know, hey, what's up, guys? And then everybody going, hey, what's up? I love that feeling. I love that.
Me too. I agree.
You know, and it's a very normal thing. So people get very afraid of not getting that when they go into these chats, and there are people who create the illusion of having that power to be able to take that away from you. And that does happen, and that can happen in certain circles of the community. Where that actually happened to me, but it happened to me in a circle of the community where it turned out that I really didn't want to be a part of. So I came out of that and just started continuing to do my own thing. And what happened? I attracted people that I did want to be a part of. I attracted people in a particular circle that I did want to be a part of. And I'm happy with that. But it's one of those things where if people all of a sudden, if some bullshit fucking blows up now that I've said something here on this live tonight, and people end up going, oh, well, I got to disassociate myself from Will because, you know, I don't want anybody who is against Will to think that I'm taking his side over theirs, or blah, 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 because they create that illusion that it's me against them, because it's not. I still have yet to say anything negative about any other creator. You know, I still have yet to have done that. I mean, tonight I've done it before, yeah. But I'm saying tonight, right now, I have yet to trash talk somebody and say, "Oh, this person sucks." You know, all I've done is discussed how certain people's behavior seemed to appear at that moment, and trying to understand why their behavior towards me seemed that way. You know, I'm perfectly within my rights to explore that. that doesn't mean that I'm trash talking someone.
No,
But
and I think too, if you're like like I come from being like a subscriber, right, to still being a subscriber and like semi-creator, and I I maybe I just view things a bit differently because I have been a subscriber for so long, but I really like to take the audience into account because I am the audience and I have been the audience, and I know what it's like to watch some of the greatest people that I've seen on this platform leave, all because of somebody having a fucking bone to pick and couldn't handle criticism, or couldn't handle the fact that this other person was getting attention, or couldn't handle that they weren't the center of attention. And it's really shitty to be a subscriber and watch like some of your favorite creators leave, all because somebody couldn't handle it, and had to destroy that person. It's such a shitty thing to have to watch. And I try to be as consciously aware of the audience as I possibly can be, to not have to place them in a position where they may be, losing somebody that they might really, really like. Unfortunately, with like Lemonade, I don't feel like she really provides anything right now that
yeah, right. I
anybody's
agree with
going
you.
to be like absolutely heartbroken about, because it's just been obvious for the last little while, that there is no content there, right? Like dragging people is the content. And so I don't feel bad about that, but I would feel
Not at
bad
all.
if I was dragging somebody who did provide content to like thousands of people, and and it was all because I had like a grudge.
I
My own
I
personal
I
grudge.
I agree 150% on that. I couldn't have said that better myself. And I want to address this real quick. What Amber just said, which is, you have no idea how some people get if you dare comment on a channel. That's another thing right there. Is if somebody uh is so mad because if a creator feels like I'm being disloyal to them because I commented on another creator's channel and said something positive, and that creator gets offended and they say, "Oh well, fuck you," and then they don't want anything to do with me anymore. Well, guess what? That is another example of irrational people removing themselves from my life and me saving me the trouble of having to remove them, saving me
Well,
the all the heartbreak and all the headache of having to do that, because I don't want, that's not the type of association that I want. Instead of being focused on whether or not I live up to their standards as a friend, I'm realizing that they simply don't live up to my standards as a friend. So please, by all means, remove yourself. So
I
tell me
think a
to.
lot of creators are kind of getting that way. It used to be that people were like, it didn't matter. Like gaining subscribers was gaining subscribers, and pandering to the audience was pandering to the audience, and like do anything for views, hashtag, right? And I think there was a time when it was like that, but I do feel like the tables are kind of turning in where people are like it here, not because they're trying to gain subscribers, but because they have a voice and they kind of want to find their tribe of people. And it doesn't matter if they get big or stay small or whatever. They're just here to do their own thing, and they're not. It's like, I don't want to have that. I don't want to have to be pandering to my audience. I don't want to have to do anything for views. I don't want to have to. I just want to be able to be me. And if you don't like that, and if I'm not your cup of tea, unsubscribe. That's totally fine. And
And it's
you're
funny
not
how
affecting me.
what's funny is how that's the simplest, most surefire way to find yourself happy as a creator, right? Is to be able to do exactly what it is that you want to do. But you have to be happy with whatever comes with that. Whether you have 5 subscribers or whether you have 500,000, you have to be able to be happy with what you're doing, or else it sucks. I don't want 1 million subscribers if I have to work for it, if I have to act like I'm working, if I have to put on an act the whole time and I'm singing and dancing in clown makeup, which I would hate to do. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to do that.
Well, I
So
think that's exactly why like that Joker movie was totally great. It's like, showing that side of like, the nihilist, right? Of like getting to the point where like he's not acting anymore. Now he's that character. And yeah, you don't ever want to get to the point where you're just so beaten down that you just become this totally different person. And you're hateful, like you hate doing what you're doing, you don't like creating it, you don't like producing it, you don't like any of it. You're just, yeah, it becomes that mundane job that you hate in real life. You're like, no.
yeah. um and I don't, yeah, exactly. That defeats the whole purpose. Why would I do this if it's gonna feel like a second fucking job?
Right? Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to have two jobs if I don't need to have two jobs. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be a place where I can express myself freely and openly and honestly. And I want people who appreciate, I want people to listen to me to appreciate that about me. And I want to be able to appreciate them for appreciating that. It's a beautiful, wonderful exchange.
Yeah,
And
well, and I think too, we like the subscribers, I think, appreciate that because like they can tell when, did I lose you?
no, I'm
I'm
here.
still here. Okay. They know when like somebody isn't enjoying themselves too, like I think that a lot of
Yeah, your
creators like,
audience is smart, man. Your audience is
yeah,
smart. Like, if
like
you don't give them credit,
like I am the audience, right? So it's like if I'm thinking it, they're thinking it. And to think that your audience is not thinking what you're thinking or is, not as smart as you, or whatever it is that some of these, because there are some creators out there that are like that, is silly to me, because I'm like, a lot of the people that are on this platform now were the audience at one point. So it's like you have to be able to keep your mind in that mindset of like, remember what it was like to be the audience, because you're making big mistakes if you think that your audience can't see what's going on, or doesn't see that this isn't going well. They see it.
yeah.
And they
Yeah.
watch the changes over time. Jamie's like, that's why I've kind of decided to make her a sort of a case study on my channel, because she, when it comes to narcissism, which is what I like to talk about, she's probably like the best case study out there of like watching somebody just go from, what was presented as being this altruistic, martyr trying to save subscribers from being scammed and from being hurt. And, she was like the purveyor of peace and justice, and, to
That's
becoming
great.
like
Yeah,
the total monster within. Like,
that's so delusional, because I mean, yeah, I've never heard anything positive from her, and that's really sad, because what's going on is she's constantly doing, she's built her channel from negativity. I remember she's like you said, an opportunist. And I know this for a fact because I remember when she first got started, and I was linked up with Critical K at the time, and Critical K's mods and everybody were like, "Who the fuck is this idiot?" And she was just, at the time, Kay had just a barrage of haters out there. Just, I mean, people just trying to shut her down. It was crazy. And I was shocked by it because I was still so naive, and I'm still very naive when it comes to this platform. I'm very naive still. I'm always still very surprised at behavior that I see, and I'm like, holy shit. But
I agree.
but like, Kay had just a ton of people that were just out to shut her down, and hell bent on doing so. And this woman would come out, and it was clear that she had jumped on this bandwagon of trying to okay, well, everybody seems to hate this woman, so I'm going to listen to her and I'm going to find reasons to hate her and I'm going to talk about it on my channel. And that's what she started doing. And then she started doing parodies and it was funny. I mean, I was making memes with her face on them back then in Kay's groups. You know, she never had my respect. Never at any point did she have my respect.
The only time she ever had a glimmer of respect for me was when there was like an issue going on, and I think the one time that Frankie Ruchek had like commented on her channel, and I think her comments were directed towards Molly Golightly, and she had, you know, stated, I think what a lot of people were feeling at that time, like, you know, this kid's gone through like the shits and you're kind of shitting on him more on social media. And yeah, I don't think that was a good position for Molly Golightly to be in. And, you know, there was a lot of factors that played into the way that situation worked out. But at the time, you know, emotions were running really high, and, you know, I think a lot of people agreed with her. Looking back on it now, though, I do see how toxic that situation could have been for Molly as well now. But at the time, I think people had just such strong emotions about this family that it was easy to get people to hate on people like Kay or people like Molly or people who met like Menza, who had a different opinion, because, you know, so people like me who are like a survivor of domestic abuse feel so strongly against like victim bashing, right? And that was, I think I ended up having to apologize to Kay, because she had said to me in a comment after I made the first video on her, she's like, you know, I'm surprised that people are so upset about this now when she's been doing this to me for like a super long time. And I had to apologize to her, because I was like, yeah, I know she has been, and I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. You know, like my own emotions clouded my judgment to see what was actually going on, because, you know, looking back on it now, regardless of Kay's opinion, that behavior still was not okay. You know, it wasn't okay for her to do it to anybody. And I guess what bothers me now is some of the justification that is still coming out from these other channels, that she like made some pretty brash and shitty comments about. And I'm just so shocked right now that they're even entertaining her. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
I mean, I've been just totally just fascinated with the fascination over the Watts case, like for forever, like really honestly since the case closed officially, since Chris Watts went to prison. Like, it went on, and I was like, there's nothing else to this case to me. And I know you and I disagree on that. I know that you feel that Nicole Kessinger was probably involved, and I don't feel that way at all.
I know, it's funny. I've heard, well, I'm sure you've heard me speak on it, or you've probably read my comments or something, and I've heard you speak on it too. And I get why people think that, and I understand it. And I've tried to like look at it from that perspective too, of being like, you know, like, let me put my, but there's just, for me, I guess, just so many unanswered questions that doesn't lead me to believe that she's like this innocent bystander that you know, some people sort of paint her out.
And I know Bobby from Once Upon a Crime in the West feels the same way you do, and we disagree on that. But see, here's the thing about that is we're civil people who can agree to disagree, because at this point nobody's going to convince the other. You have your unanswered questions that are never going to be answered. You have to know that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, never.
Right. It's never going to happen. And me, I'm of the opinion that you've got all the answers that you need and that you're going to get. And I'm accepting them for what they are. And it just is what it is. That's how I feel about it. But we're not at any point going, you're fucking crazy, you're fucking wrong, and calling each other names, and then getting to a point where we're doxing each other over it, like that fucking
Well,
happened.
even like, James and I disagree on that
and
point.
it happened a lot, like over these past few months. Like this whole platform became the drama community right now. The drama community all spawned from the Watts case. Everybody started talking about the Watts case, right?
Well, and
you're
I
talking
think
Molly Golightly, you're talking Laura Keck, you're talking all of these people were talking about the Watts case at one point, and they were doing it for content. Fair enough. It was a smart thing to do. Everybody was talking about it, but then what happens is people started fucking going at each other. Now, I don't know about Laura Keck so much in the sense that I've never really listened to her, and I know that she's friendly with Misery's channel and probably you as well. But I've never really listened to her all that much. I've only so I'm not going to go into too much about her because I don't know enough, and I'm not going to repeat hearsay because that's not fair to her out of respect for her. And she's also a very mutual friend of a very good friend of mine in this community too, that's become a good friend, which is John. But people, people totally just started getting at each other, and the drama community became the drama community from an attempt to be a true crime community using the Watts case to do it. And it was very bizarre. And so everybody just started going at each other. And now nobody's even talking about the Watts case anymore in the drama community. Now they're just talking about each other and fighting with each other.
Yes, exactly. But I think what's interesting about the Watts case and what's so unprecedented about that case for sure is not, like there's the unprecedented side of it where we've never been able to experience like seeing all that footage in real time and being able to like see the entire situation unfold through the eyes of like detectives and police body cams and all that stuff. So there was that factor of it being unprecedented. But then the other factor that I found even more interesting from that, and I know that Astral Pilot talks about this a lot, is the social media aspect. Like if that is unprecedented to see what went down like on social media and how and just like the way that it twisted and it turned and it it was just crazy to me to like, and I've never in the entire time that I've seen murder cases have ever seen a victim get bashed so badly ever. Like when you think about any other true crime case where there would be a victim, you would like I don't think I've ever seen anybody say like, oh well, that victim deserved it, so too bad, so sad.
Yeah,
I've never seen that before. This is the
well,
first
that's
time.
also the whole thing with that was there was all those videos. The thing is, you have to look at all the factors of what inspired a lot of this behavior, and a big part of that was not knowing for such a long time anything about the case. The police, the law enforcement were very secretive about their investigation. And rightfully so. That's how law enforcement should handle that. And they were very secretive about their investigation, the same way that they are right now with the Heidi Broussard case. There's a lot of crazy questions going on. Nobody seems to be able to make any sense of it. But the thing is what I'm finding very positive about that is people are learning from that, and they're not going at it and acting crazy towards each other. Some are, but it's not getting to a crazy, crazy point. And what's going on, what happened with the Watts case is nobody knew anything, and we had nothing but those videos to watch that Shanann had made and posted on social media. We had so much video footage of their home life that everyone was just trying to dissect. Everyone was trying to sum up Shanann as a person. Everyone was trying to sum up Chris Watts as a person. Everybody was trying to see if Shanann was somehow abusive towards her children, and this house somehow justified Chris Watts' actions, because in those videos he seemed like such a loving father, you know. And I would see this all the time where people would be like, well, he's a narcissist and that's what narcissists do and blah blah blah. I'm like, but you don't know anything,
See, and that's the other
make that
problem.
assumption yet. You can't diagnose this man as a narcissist if you're not, you know what I'm saying? I don't even care if you have a degree in psychology or mental health. There's no way you could sit there and diagnose this man without sitting down and talking to him. There's just,
well, and here's the other problem that I found is, like, when I look at, like, let's just take Jamie as an example, because she's such a good case study. When you look at Jamie and you see those traits and you see those behaviors, and you can go back into the past and you can see the dynamics over time, it's there, right? But with Chris Watts, and even still to this day, there's just nothing there yet to me that suggests that he's a narcissist, which is why I have such a hard problem. Like, that's why I have such a problem believing that he did it all, because I still to this day don't see those tendencies in him. I just don't. I mean, I do see things that he might have done or ways that he might have been that weren't great, but to me, his upbringing seems very similar to my upbringing. Raised in, like, kind of a weird family, overbearing mother.
Yeah, but a lot of people are raised in weird
like
families.
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
but a lot of people are raised in abusive homes, and
and don't end up like that.
Right. You have a lot of serial killers who had these weird, crazy, fucked up relationships with their moms. But there's a lot of people who grew up with weird, fucked up situations and relationships with their moms, but didn't become serial killers. So there's, to sit there and say, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes these things just happen and they don't make sense. And
you'll never know.
And we
you'll
can't,
just never know.
Right. And for some reason, we couldn't accept that. So for some reason, there's something missing here. There's something wrong. And I'm of the opinion that this is a guy who did something totally awful, who did not understand the magnitude of what he was doing. Not to say that he didn't understand what he was doing. I don't think that he understood the magnitude of what he was doing, in the sense that he thought that he could just cover it up and move on with his life. It's something that he underplayed in his mind in order for him to pull it off, because he wanted something different so desperately. That's what I think. I think that this is a very, very weak-minded individual. And the way that I describe, Tanya, the way that I describe Chris Watts, who's more like a kid who pissed the bed and then stuck the sheets in the closet and expected nobody to realize that he pissed the bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was just that was what his behavior was like. He planned it, but he didn't plan it. You know what I mean? He premeditated it, but he didn't plan it well at all. He's not a master criminal at all whatsoever. And I think if somebody else had been involved in that case, somebody as calculated as people are making Nicole Kessinger to be, for instance, it would have been a lot harder to gather evidence against him and build this case to where you had to corner him into pleading guilty. You know what I'm saying? I think it would have been a lot more organized. I think if she would have been involved in that murder, it would have been a lot less sloppy. That's what I think. But
that's like me. Where I'm like so confused, I guess. And I think that, like you said, there's just going to be like a lot of unanswered questions, and that'll never be answered. And I guess, and I just don't, I mean, the questions that are left are, and I guess for me too, with investigators, and I'll just to touch on that point, is there was things in those interviews where I was just like, this is unheard of, the amount of leading that is going on in some of these like interrogations and stuff. And I
right.
just thought that was so weird to me. I was like, what is up? Like, because
See,
usually they wouldn't do that.
I feel like there was a lot of looking too close into the microscope into the case rather than enough of just looking at it from an aerial point of view and looking at the big picture of everything. Because the way that I see I don't think that the leading questions is so much. I think that's stuff that could have been used in court, sure, by the defense, absolutely. But as far as convincing me of his guilt or convincing me that somebody else was involved, I that's not nearly enough, because I see a coward when I see Chris Watts. I see a pure coward. I see a guy.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
We can agree there.
So seeing him as a coward, I see a man who uh a coward who's capable of killing two small children, of his own small children. He's either he either did it on his own, right? Or if somebody else was involved, the kind of coward that he is would have absolutely rolled over on anybody else to get himself a better deal. So he would have given Nicole Kessinger.
See, and that's where I disagree with you. That's where I totally disagree with you. Because Chris Watts, in my opinion, was such a people pleaser and such a yes guy, and never wanted to upset anybody, never wanted anybody to feel bad, or didn't want his parents to feel like uncomfortable or unsuccessful around him. That to me, if somebody else was involved, he would totally take the blame for it, because that's the kind of guy he is. I feel like he totally would just be like, yeah, I'll take it all. Fine.
No fucking way, because that to me
that's where we disagree.
Right. That to me contradicts the type of character that it would take to murder two of your own small children, or two small children, period. So
see, and that's where I also disagree, because I feel like
that's the stalemate we're gonna meet at right there.
Yeah, totally, right there. But it's okay. Like, I don't like, even like, James and I disagree on that as well. Like, he totally thinks that Nicole Kessinger's innocent, and whatever. I don't have a problem disagreeing with people, because I realize that
I think she's innocent of the crime. I don't think she's innocent generally, but I think she's innocent of that crime.
Yeah, but you know what? Even let's just say, like, take all like the possibility and all that out of the equation. When you think about the relationship dynamics of what was happening between Shanann and Chris, like, he was just a very remote individual to begin with, and he just didn't have, I don't know, like, I think there was like this one lady who said it the best. He just didn't have the emotional maturity in that relationship to handle, I think, what was going on with him. And it happens to like tons of adults all the time that end up in marriages where they don't think things through. They don't think about what the future may, like, I did it. I got married at 25 to somebody, never. And that was the one thing that, like, when I look back on that I kind of feel like I wish I thought about it more, because I was like, yeah, I want to marry you and this is going to be fucking great, until we had kids. And then it was like one child, I guess. And then it was just kind of like, well, what's our future going to be like? And what do you want to do? And like, our ideas of what our future was going to look like were so different. And like, we never thought about that. Like, we never, like, it was just always going to be like, you're going to be the house shroud, like, you're going to be barefoot in the kitchen, and I'm going to do all this. And I just think that a lot of people who maybe like end up in relationships like that do end up having an affairs, because they're unhappy. They don't know how to emotionally deal with the situation. I think it happens all the time. And I do think that, yeah, Nicole Kessinger probably knew about that, but at the same time, it happens a lot. It happens more than people know.
First of all, 50% of relationships or marriages end up in divorce. That's a fact, right? So 50% of marriages end up in divorce. And how many of these relationships, whether they end up in divorce or whether they end up staying together, how many people cheat? I mean, it happens so often. I mean, it's crazy how common infidelity is.
Well, a lot
So,
of people will just do whatever they think they can get away with. Let's be
right.
honest.
Right. So I don't think that associating infidelity with murder is even responsible. In that case or any other case, I just don't see it. I see that it's an issue. Like it can be motive. Sure, it could be motive for murder, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's, well, this person cheated or I mean, the craziest thing that I heard the whole time about Nicole Kessinger was, oh, she's a homewrecker, so she had to be an accomplice. That's the craziest fucking thing I've ever heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people are homewreckers. That doesn't make them murderers. A lot of people are liars. That doesn't make them murderers. Like the girl Caressa that was on Jay's Live. That girl's a fucking liar. Like, it's a fact. It's a fact. There's so much bullshit in her story that on that live that, but the thing is, it doesn't make her a liar, or it doesn't make her a murderer. It doesn't make her to be the person that was driving the car. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when I cover the case and I talk about that case, I talk about, let's look at this person, let's look at this person, let's look at this person. There's very much a huge possibility that none of the people that we're even exploring and looking at right now had anything to do with it. There's a likelihood that it was somebody that we don't even know, that hasn't even been mentioned. Could have been one of her druggy friends, because I suspect drug-induced psychosis from
What I suspected
from Megan. So it's very likely that that she has druggy friends, and she could have talked one of them into it, to helping her out,
like,
or
let's face it,
manipulating her into driving the
people
car.
who, I think that's the one thing that I find so fascinating about addiction. And I think I might explore this a little bit on my channel, because certainly I'm in recovery for sure. And I've always been, more fixated, I suppose, on drugs than I've ever been on alcohol. And I find it fascinating how different people, like how people can have different ways of being addicted, because, whenever I've gone to, like, let's say a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, like, and I listen to stories that people tell, I'm like, holy shit, like, some people will lose their lives in a day if they get back on stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's incredible to me. And it's also interesting how some people can really, like, I've never done this, but I can see how it happens, and I don't judge people for when it happens, because I know that drugs affect people's brains in different ways. So, but for me, I always find it fascinating when I hear stories of, like, people doing, like, things that they would never normally do sober, that are just like, wow, like the way the brain rewired itself there to get them to, think that that was a good idea, or that was okay, or that they could get away with it, is just fascinating to me, and it happens a lot, like, with people who get on, like I've never been, like, addicted to methamphetamines, but I hear it a lot about people who do meth. They get into, like, some pretty crazy situations, and have seen some crazy shit. And I'm always just like, wow, like, how did their brain process that and not be affected by it at all? I think addiction is a fascinating, complex thing, because it's so interesting to me how people's brains are wired, and everybody can act differently on any substance, even people that become schizophrenic just by smoking weed.
Yeah. I've seen that with my own eyes. It was funny. I was in a rehab facility when I was 17, and there was this dude, and he was the craziest one out of anybody there, right? like he was weird. He walked like with one hand in front of him, everywhere. And he would say things like, hey, do you mind if I get naked? And then he would just strip naked in front of everyone, and everybody would be like, okay, dude, like, what the fuck are you doing? But it was mostly just funny. It was harmless, but it was very, very, it was very irrational behavior. But as time went on in this facility, he ended up being the one guy who ended up making the most progress and becoming the most least angry, but most well adjusted. He had how those places have point systems and levels. He had the highest level to where he had the most privileges out of everybody, and then he was ready to leave, and he left. And the very same day, the guy came back in the same condition as I first saw him in, because he went out and smoked a joint with his friends, a celebratory joint for being out with his friends. He came back buck naked, totally fucking incoherent and making no sense.
Yeah,
And
like that to me is just
because
so.
he smoked with his buddies. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I've seen, like, I know when I was younger and I was smoking weed, like there was a point where I became so like I swear I think I hit like a schizophrenic break, because I became so paranoid of the people around me and what was going on. Like I thought, like there was one point I remember, and I think I was like 19 at the time. I literally thought like my best friend was planning on murdering me, and I got so paranoid I like booked it out of there. I was like running down the street in like -30, and I was like, fuck this, I'm out.
Gotten paranoid
You know?
like that on weed. I've gotten paranoid like that on weed, but like it's very, very rare.
Yeah, that was like the only one time, but I quit smoking for a while after that, because I was just like, holy shit, like, whoa. And then, reading reports now, because at the time they hadn't done a lot of research into it, but then reading like research now about it and how they say it like really affects teenagers' brains as they're developing. And it seems to be that when it seems it's the research is showing that with teenagers, when they're smoking marijuana at that age level, they tend to be it's that age group that tend to be the ones that hit the schizophrenic break at that time. So
Right.
I find that really interesting too, because at the time they didn't know that either. But yeah, it's crazy to me. I just wanted to address Amber in the chat really quickly here. I just want you to know that I have not looked at that. I'm not going to look at that. If you decide to ever talk about it, that's your thing. But I'm not going to go out of my way to find that.
Oh, about whatever they doxed Amber for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not interested. What's funny is I know a lot of it already. I mean, Amber and I have been friends for a long time. Like, it just so happened, like, just by sheer chance. Like, I remember she heard me on a Critical K live one time and was like, and she texted me like, "Is that you? Are you the Glare?" And I was like, "Yeah." So, and then we, so it was kind of cool that way. But I knew this stuff, and she yeah, I basically said everything that I actually wanted to say about that yesterday on my live yesterday, just because I mean, these things are, it's like I started to say before. I mean, uh, we're we're outcasts and misfits as far as people who they'll never relate to this. We're people who have been through the shit and been at the bottom and climbed our way to where we are right now, which is not the top by any means. but we've scratched and clawed to get to where we are, and this is something that many of us have in common who have found each other recently. And this is a very positive thing if we allow it to be. But it's a very negative thing if we allow it to be. If we allow someone to use that stuff to bother us and throw in our faces, then they win, you know. But if it's the very if you forget that it's the very thing that has gotten you and to the frame of mind that you're in right now, to the strong frame of mind and strong spirit that you are now, uh shit, man. I mean, you're stronger than anybody that's gonna sit here and try to bring you down, using that to bring you down. That's crazy. You
I
know,
always like I look at it the exact opposite when I hear shit about people like that. To be honest with you, like when
that's what I'm
people,
saying. Yeah.
you know, like it mind boggles me because I'm like, if you're gonna sit there and make fun of people for the experiences that they've gone through, which in a lot of times can be like fucking hell, and you're gonna judge them for that, it says a lot more about you and what your life experiences have been that have brought you to be that person than it says about the person that went through that. Because I always find those people to have the best stories and they're more fascinating than, the people who don't. I find.
Because if you were at that point and then you're at a point like where Amber is right now, if you were at that point and then you're at a point where Amber is right now, then shit. That's incredible. That's somebody that I want to listen to. That's somebody that's gonna have experience and stories that I'm going to want to hear about. You know, um, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Amber plans on doing with her channel from here on out, because this is a good thing. This stuff being out there, uh, if she uses it to her advantage, she's gonna win. She's already winning. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
exactly. Like I
If anybody's gonna sit there and throw that shit in her face and try to use that to somehow discredit her, you know what that's going to do? That's going to get rid of. It's going to do exactly what I was talking about before. It's going to weed out the kind of subscriber she's not even going to want, and then
exactly.
it's going to attract the kind of subscribers that can relate to her.
Yeah. And you know what? Jessica said something in my live earlier where she had stated that like I don't know, she had watched something and it had helped her like decide like, well, I guess maybe not decide, but like realize like she had nothing to feel embarrassed about like with her life. Like why was she feeling embarrassed about
Well, 'cause
hiding herself,
yeah,
right?
look
And
at
I'm
where
like,
she is right now. Like she teaches kids how to gain self-confidence through expressing their emotions with their body movements. Can you say that you do that? That you can do that? I don't know anybody else who can do that. Like, I'm privileged to know somebody who can do that. This is what she does every day. That's her
yeah,
job.
that's like way more fascinating than somebody who sits at home and doesn't have a fucking job and complains about everybody else. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, get the fuck out of my face with that.
Well, and especially when you consider that they're like crying on their live stream. I just got a message that somebody was live streaming us a little bit ago. But
Yeah, I saw that chat.
and it's interesting to me that she, is crying on this, I don't know, video yesterday about how like she needs a call to action. And it's like, at some point, like, lady, get a fucking grip and just start looking inwards here. Cause I guarantee you the problem is not outside. I guarantee you. Like, it is within, my friend. It is within.
Right. And nothing is gonna change until you realize that.
And stop blaming everybody else for your fucking decisions in life. Like, take some responsibility for that shit,
Right. Because nobody, that's the thing, is you could cry and you could have 100 people in your chat that are going, "Aw, aw, you poor thing," but they don't really give a fuck. You know, that's the hard truth. I'm sorry, but that is the absolute hard truth. Nobody at the end of the day's life is affected by the fact that your feelings are hurt. You know, the only
No.
way the only way somebody's emotions are affected by your feelings being hurt is if they feel somehow responsible for them and they're not a sociopath. That's different. You know, if I see that somebody's feelings are hurt and it's because of something I did, then yes, I give a fuck and I'm going to try to make it right. But if I see you, the first thing people do when they see somebody sitting there and crying about something that they probably could have avoided in the first place, they're just doing the right thing and they feel is the right thing to do, and they're going, oh well, damn, you poor thing. But they're really just silently waiting for you to get over it. You
Well,
know,
yeah, and
that's the
I
hard
think
truth.
well, and that's the thing. Like, she can't handle hard truths, and it's like if we're at this point here too that I've noticed in the world where like a lot of people are, kind of realizing like where they're at in life, where they're going, that the system is broken, and it there's a lot of people just like that. I can't remember who you called him, Gary Vander.
Gary V, just refer to him as Gary V because nobody can
Gary
pronounce
V.
his last
But
name.
there's like a lot of people kind of like pushing that message out there. That's like, there's a guy you'd probably really like this guy actually. His name's Richard Grannon, Spartan Life Coach. This guy is like phenomenal and talks about narcissism and stuff. And he originally started his channel for like self-defense for men, but then it turned out that people liked him talking about narcissism more, so he just kind of like switched his field and went into that. But he talks the same way. He's like, nobody's coming to save you but you. Like, you're the only person who can call yourself into action. You can't rely on somebody else to call you into action. You have to call yourself into action.
Yeah,
And if you're not
I
prepared to
completely
do
agree
that,
with
you can't complain about it, Like,
exactly. And the thing is you don't, if somebody else was calling you into action for yourself, would you fucking listen to them? No, naturally you're gonna go against them. Naturally, you don't like being told what to do. You don't like people telling you what to do with your life. You're going to be like, mind your own business. What do you care what I do with my life? That's always going to be your defense. So so when you're sitting there and you're waiting for somebody else to come save you, but then when they do, you go against everything they say, well then what's the only option? Fucking get to work.
absolutely. Like, and
That's
it
it.
yeah, and I think that's kind of like where we're at, where we just have these people who, don't have lives. They can't be successful. It's like, take that energy that you're putting into trying to destroy everyone else and put it into yourself and put it into your content and put it into your creative endeavors. And maybe, just maybe, you might have the same success, but you're never going to have it tearing other people down, because people over time don't like that. It doesn't last for long. People get tired of it. They don't want to feel like shit all the time. They don't want to hear you talking shit all the time. They don't, I think that's why a lot of the, like, her audience left, months ago. Like, and it was kind of crazy because like when I posted that video, that was like the turning point. And I watched it happen, where it was just like, I posted the video and it was almost like I just had said everything that everybody was thinking but didn't know how to put into words. And it was like I threw it out there, and literally her audience, like, overnight, just like was like, yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. And they just left. And now she's just left with the same people talking about the same shit all the time, destroying other people. And I guess that's where, like, I am very, like, I think I probably have a little bit of a white knight syndrome thing happening with myself, because I really get defensive of people when I see other people purposely going out of their way to destroy other people. That's when I just, like,
Yeah, I
it's a
don't
white knight thing, I think.
understand. Yeah, like I don't understand the delusion there. You're clearly just out there trying to hurt somebody by putting their shit out there. And so if you put somebody's shit out there, I'm not gonna go, oh my God, look at their shit. I'm gonna go, what kind of a fucking asshole are you for putting their shit out there? The fuck is wrong with you? What's going on
Yeah,
with your life?
yeah, and I think it's evident that she's got some, like, very serious. I think that's what, like, Laura kind of said it the best. Like, on her own, she's harmless. right? Like on her own, doing her live streams by herself. She's just a hateful, mean-spirited person, but harmless. But escalate that behavior with people who are enticing her to do those things and enticing her to be meaner and
Right.
more hateful and
Yeah, she's right.
more vengeful. And then you've got a dangerous person, like you've weaponized somebody, right? And that's, I feel like, what those guys are doing, because like they're not there to lift her up or anything like that. Like they're just there to get views, get their channels kick-started so that they can get bigger, right? If at any moment that stream starts like dying off, which could be happening at any moment now, that's not going to happen. They're not going to stick around for that. Like, why would they?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. It blows it blows my mind that people have this delusion of being some sort of white knight coming to the YouTube rescue. And I mean, look, everyone, like it just blows my mind that people have that weird mentality. Like that email I got about misery the other day. I was like, what did you think my reaction was going to be like in your mind from me seeing that? Do you really think that that my reaction was going to be, oh my God, this is awful. Oh, where do I sign up to pull misery down off of his platform? Like, where? I mean, that's is there a where's the get misery off YouTube recruitment office? Where do I sign up? That doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that how you imagine that in your head?
Well, that's what I think is so funny. It's kind of like a comedy skit. Like, I'm like, this girl can't be for real, can she? Like, this can't be real. Because I'm just like, I don't think I've ever met in my life ever somebody like this, ever. I'm like, this can't be really happening.
I have.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into the details about that, but yeah, that's why I understand her so well. But as I've seen it before, as a matter of fact, I'm talking about 20 folds worse.
No.
Oh yeah,
No.
yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Wow. Because like she's the worst for sure. Like for sure. And I don't know, maybe I've just been around different crowds, but I'm like, this chick can't be like this delusional.
I was for years I was made out. I was looked at as an awful crazy person because of this person. And it wasn't until this person's craziness caught up to them so much that it became overwhelming for them their craziness became too overwhelming for them to manage. It was really bad, like, because this person was so crazy, but it was more evil than crazy. And so she was very calculated in her actions, extremely calculated in her actions. And then it just got to a point to where it was very, very obvious, because she just couldn't control her behavior anymore.
That's probably where you learned how to deal with somebody like that, because it was interesting. I remember approaching you about it, and you were just like, just ignore her. And like normally, like in like any other situation, I would ignore her, but a lot of people wouldn't know to say those things. And that's what I noticed. When you had said that, I picked up on that right away. I was like, this person has dealt with somebody like this before, because most people wouldn't know to just ignore it and to just be no contact about it, unless you've dealt with somebody like that before.
Yeah, because what's going to happen is when you're dealing with somebody who's trying to make you look crazy in front of a whole bunch of people, what they're counting on you to do is to react to their behavior. They're looking for a reaction from you. They're looking for you to fire back, so that the moment that you fire back, they've already set up a scenario in their mind where they can make you look like the attacker, you look like the aggressor, and they're the victim. And it's very, very easy for them to do that, especially if you react, and especially if you're actually more clever than they are in the sense of getting revenge. But if you fall into the trap of actually taking that revenge, they know how to go, oh my God, look how much smarter this person is than me. I'm a victim of theirs. They're always trying to hurt me. I'm no match for their cleverness, for how smart they are. And they're just completely narcissistic and abusive against me. You know, they count on that. So the only thing you can do is ignore them. And the funny thing about that is this person, they use that against me. But again, I take full responsibility for how things ever escalated, because I reacted. I have to be honest with myself now when I look back on it and realize that the only reason that I reacted was out of sheer
Frustration.
well, frustration, but pride and stubbornness. You know, no, I can't just let this person do this to me, so I'm gonna get them back. You know, there's no way. Like, I have to prove that I'm right and they're wrong. You know, I have to prove it. I have to go out of my way and prove it. And I did that for years, and it never worked in my favor. And then it got to a point to where I was just like, all I have to do is just not give a fuck. That's all I have to do now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I learned with my ex-husband, is to just be no contact and become as boring as a fucking gray rock.
That's it.
You know?
Right. And then that's it. They have nothing to feed off of anymore.
No.
And then what happens is they drive themselves crazy with it. And then they start acting irrationally. When you don't react, then guess what? They're the aggressor.
Yeah.
And they've even convinced themselves. It's gotten to a point where they convince themselves that you're the aggressor. So if you put them on a lie detector, when you put them on a lie detector, they'll pass. But even though the shit that they're thinking is not true.
Well, and I think that's kind of where we're at with like Lemonade, is that she literally
she believes that
she believes that we're the aggressor.
Right. She believes she's some sort of stand up for her rights kind of warrior here. Absolutely. And the reason why she's doing that is because, and the reason why she gets to convince herself of that is because she's all alone. There's so many up against her. There's everybody that's trash talking her in chats that she's lurking on, you know, and we're all guilty of it. That's a fact. We're all guilty of feeding this right now.
Oh, for sure. 100%. I don't deny that at all.
Right.
No.
Right. But I mean, I'm morally okay with it, because she can't do jack shit about it, and she's not going to stop anyway. So I don't feel guilty about it, because she's done a bunch of shit to a bunch of people and she deserves it. So I don't give a fuck. But
that's how I feel.
Right. And that's how we all feel. But you know, well, Lufa, she's definitely done some gaslighting, but I think that she is mostly just projecting right now. And that's just really, the deflection and the projection is a big thing.
And in a weird, strange way, I think it does come down for her to like pride. Like, she can't handle just accepting that maybe, just maybe, she was wrong and she put her eggs in the wrong basket, you know? Like, I even got to a point where where it was fair to say that I even got to a point where I was abusive. But in my mind, it was justified because of the abuse that I was taking that nobody saw. Well, see, so and that's what happened. Like, I was talking about with...
I was manipulated into being this abusive person, but I I caved, and I behaved out of character. I allowed my emotions get the best of me, and I became this person that I was accused of being all the time, because I got to a point where if I'm going to be accused of it, and I'm going to be treated like it, and I'm going to be viewed like it by everybody, I know that I might as well be that guy. And a lot of that had to do with drugs and alcohol as well.
Well, I think that happened to James the other day with like Hello Starlight, when she like called him a pedo and, you know, a doxer and like all this shit. And then he was like, well, if you're going to accuse me of it and all you guys are going to keep saying that that's what I am, then I might as well be it, because you already think that way, you know? And I think that everybody gets to that point. Like when you're going through that type of abuse, I do think that a lot of people it's not an easy thing for you to detach yourself from your emotions and not care, especially when it's in your real life, of what somebody else is doing to you. Like it's almost impossible to like step away from that and be like, oh, well, I'm just not going to, do anything, because it's so triggering. And I think that's like, I was talking about how borderline personality disorder, like if you go through abusive relationships like that and you become that person that you don't like at times and you get out of it, I think at least for me, for sure, it took a long time for me to like learn how to sort of not be that person anymore, and to realize that was like, that person brought out the worst in me. That's not, and it affected my self-esteem, because it was like I had to learn like that. Yes, you did those things, but that's not who you are. Like that person brought out the worst in you, and that's not who you are,
Right. But see, I don't believe in leaving in focusing on that blame, because once it's like I just highlighted Plumy's comment there, I absolutely believe that. Once you've chosen to react, that's it. Now the responsibility is on you. That's on you. At no point anymore do you get to sit there and go, well, it's because of them. They made me do it. You don't get to say that. At that point, you're none of that matters anymore. That's null and void at that point. Once you've reacted and you've behaved out of character, they won. They got what they wanted out of you. And you are stuck having to live with your decision of how you reacted. And that's the fact of the matter. I have to live with that tattooed on my soul, is that I got to a point to where I was an abusive person.
Yeah.
And I have to live with that. And the only thing that I could do is change it and learn from it and never be that guy again.
Well, and I think, and I said this in like one of my videos, like when I was actually like, trying to give her some pointers and not be an asshole about it. I said that I was like, I don't want you to take this as like I'm victim bashing, but regardless of whether you're in a situation with somebody and the responsibility or the fault is still like, 80-20, you still have like your part and your role that you play in these types of relationships, regardless of how you feel about it. You still do have to take some responsibility, because you still accepted the behavior to begin with, and you got yourself into that situation to begin with. And I can tell you that there was like fucking many red flags for me before I ended up in that situation where I should have removed myself, like, and I remember thinking to myself, like, why am I accepting this behavior? Why am I, allowing this to take place? And I kept allowing it. And it was because like, that's what those types of people do. They push your boundaries little bit by little bit. And, it's a slow drip, I guess, or a slow erosion of boundary pushing, to the point where you've completely allowed them to overstep your boundaries. And that's a part of anybody that has to figure out, like, why would you allow that to happen? Why would you allow somebody to erode away your, like, let's say, integrity or your morality or whatever, and not, put a stop to it right away? What was the deal with that? So I think, in any relationship, abusive or not, you still have to take your part of the responsibility for that relationship failing. Even if it's a small part, you still have to own it.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be accountable for what you, and you have to make yourself accountable for what you've done. Or else it means nothing. You're not going to learn from anything. Like anybody who goes to prison and they sit there and plead innocent when there's all this evidence against them, and they sit there and go, "Nope, I didn't do it. I didn't do it." Like Ted Bundy, you know,
Dalia Dipolito.
he's not doing shit. You know, he's not nothing. No justice was actually served, other than the fact that you managed to keep him away from people. You know, so you managed to make sure that he no longer has any more victims. So that's good. But the fact of the matter is that he's not rehabilitated. You learned nothing from his behavior. You never got to there was never a solution. You know, I highlighted this comment because I think this kind of honesty is huge with me. Like Sarah says, I got violent because nothing I said to my man hurt him. He hurt my feelings. I wanted to hurt him back. Nothing worked, so I hit him and he broke my ribs. And that kind of honesty to me takes a lot, because this is the exact opposite of the kind of behavior that, you know, most women will sit there and they'll, you know, like I used to get beat up by this woman all the time. You know what I'm saying? It was only on like one or two occasions where I actually struck back. Because I was just like, well, fuck it, you know, and I'm not going to just sit here and take abuse when I'm already being made out to be an abuser and I'm the one getting hit, you know, like, so fuck this, you know what I'm saying? But
Oh yeah.
but she would have never admitted to that. She still won't. I guarantee she wouldn't. But then you have somebody like Sarah here who will go up here and say, on a fucking YouTube platform, and say, this is, I would get violent and this is why, because I wanted to hurt it. I wanted this person to care enough to where his feelings were hurt by my words, and they just didn't. So I resorted to violence. And that's crazy. That's a hell of a thing.
Well, and that's what I mean, like where, you know, when you're in these relationships and you get to a point where you get like that, it's like, what is it about you? And what is it about, whether it's your upbringing or whether it's something that's happened to you that you need to personally deal with within yourself that would allow you to end up in a relationship like that? It's a tough question. It's not a question, you know, it does seem in a way that
takes a lot of digging. Yeah.
Like it's almost like victim bashing, but it really isn't. It's like it's not to be mean, it's not to be hurtful. It's really just a really tough question that we have to ask ourselves of why, you know, what is it about us, or what is it about what happened to me that would allow me to end up in a situation where this is what I was, you know, kind of placed into an emotional state and I did this. It's like, you know, and it's such a shitty question to have to ask yourself. And I remember when I first heard that from somebody, I was pissed off when I heard that. I remember thinking to myself, like, who the fuck thinks like this? Like, that's ridiculous. And, you know, but over time, when I started realizing, like, you know, the things about me that led me to, you know, make all kinds of really shitty decisions, that a lot of that shit was coming deep within like my childhood, that like was just repressed shit that I never dealt with, that I never looked at. And then once I did look at it, fuck, did I cut a lot of people like out of my life. There was a lot of people did I leave? No, I didn't. There's a lot of people I just cut out of my life after that, like family members, friends and stuff, because I realized a lot of shit about myself. I was like, wow, these people were really bad for me, and they, you know, brought out some really bad shit in me, and I don't want that in my life anymore. So I decided to change it. But it takes a lot to start asking yourself those tough questions, because you have to be able to really dig deep within yourself if you want that change to happen. It's not, it sucks. It's hard. It's definitely hard.
Yeah. It's the hardest thing. That's the thing, is the stuff that I talk about on here is really, really hard to do. It's the stuff that I'm super adamant about, but make no mistake, it's really difficult to do. The hardest thing that I ever did was like looking at myself honestly and making certain diagnoses about my personality that I would never want to face and have to admit to myself that I was. And that's a difficult thing to do. And what that genuinely took was fucking hitting bottom and not wanting to live anymore, and then going, something's gonna change, you know.
Yeah.
Because for some reason people still care about me, even though I don't think much of myself at all. But yet there are people that think more of me than I think of myself. Uh, how do I enhance that? How do I enhance this person that they see in me, that they love, that they see and see such good in? How do I do that? Because I want to see that. How is it that they benefit from seeing that yet suffer from it so awful, so horribly too, and yet I'm only suffering from it because I'm not seeing the good at all. So what do I got to do here? What do you know? And it takes a lot of self-reflection, and it takes a lot of digging and getting to, a lot of onion layer peeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not an easy thing to do at all. So make no mistake, none of the stuff I talk about on this channel is easy to do, but it's very simple. It's very simple to go, okay, well, you got to start taking some self inventory, man, and do it fucking honestly. Be your own worst critic, but be ready to be like, hey, man, you did fucked up shit, and you don't like that you did that fucked up shit. Well, figure out why you did that fucked up shit. What makes you want to do that fucked up shit? What was the kind of, why are you the type of person to make excuses for yourself? You know what I mean? And you have to ask yourself hard questions like that. Like, it's one thing to realize that you make excuses for yourself, that you're the type of person to justify shitty behavior, right? That's one thing that's really difficult to do, but you have to do it. But it's a whole nother ball game when you're sitting here and figuring out why you're the type of person to justify your own behavior when you do fucked up shit and try to get to that point. That's a fucking tough thing to do, man.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes a lot of work, but you gotta want to do it. You gotta want better things. So, but I can't even have a conversation with you if you're the type of person that's just going, no, it's not me. I've got this person in my life. Well, fucking leave. Everybody, oh, it's easier said than done. Well, yeah, it is, but you've got to fucking do it though. You can't sit here and have the argument with me that it's something we've already established. It's something that needs to be done. Now you're just making excuses as to why you can't do it, but nothing's going to change unless you do it, right? Well, yeah, but
I know for me, like, it was, I think it was like a 3-year relationship, possibly 4. But I know, like, just knowing how I am, it was like the sooner, like, that was the thought in my head. The sooner that you get the fuck out of here, the better, because the longer you wait it out, the worse it's gonna get. And that was my thinking behind it. And sure as shit, like, that person has not changed one iota and has gone on to do it to other people and has, continued to, like, stalk me, harass me, like, send me these stupid texts about just all the shit that he likes to project onto me. Even still, takes no responsibility for themselves at all. And it's just like, it's mind-boggling to me, because, like, getting out of that situation here, I'm like, the one who's, like, fostering the change within myself while watching this other person just stay at this, like, really juvenile, immature level. And it's crazy to watch people just stay there and not want to move forward, because it is hard. It like everything. But here's the thing, and I think I talked about this in my life too, is that, like, we get conditioned in society to believe that happiness is a destination, and that like this positive. I like to call it the Oprah Winfrey reality fucking tunnel, because that's what it is. It's like the Oprah Winfrey reality tunnel of like positivity and, you know, mindfulness and all that stuff and The Secret and shit. And people get all jacked into this law of attraction bullshit thinking, and it's so like delusional to think that if you just think about it, it's gonna fucking happen for you. And it's like, no, it's not gonna fucking happen for you. You have to actually do something about it. You actually have to like get off your ass and do something about it. Thinking about it is not
anything that disguises itself as anything other than you having to put in the hardest work that you ever had to put in is a lie. It's a lie. There's no getting around it. Like, you're not going to lose weight unless you diet. You're not going to lose weight unless you get some sort of exercise and diet. It's not going to happen. You're not going to take a magic pill. You're not going to, you know, get a special machine that doesn't exert you too much and see results. It's never, ever, ever going to happen that way. You have to put in the work, and you have to find out it's work to find out what kind of work you have to put in, what works for you to do it. That's the only way. So, you know, I mean, people say, oh, well, that's tough love and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's one way to put it, but it's not that it's tough love. It's the fucking truth. It's just the simple fucking truth. There's no other way but to have to dig deep and fucking figure out, you know, there's no other way than to have to dig deep and get dirty and face things that are going to hurt, that are going to hurt your pride, that are going to hurt your perception of how you've always saw things. It's going to be a very, very difficult thing to realize that things are not the way that you've convinced yourself that they are, and change your perception.
well, yeah, and like,
but it's the only way. There's no way around it.
No, there isn't. And it's like you have to get used to like feeling uncomfortable. Like, there are going to be times in life where you are going to fucking feel uncomfortable, and it's going to suck. And that's just the way it is. It's always been that way. It's always going to be that way. It's just that the world's convinced everyone that, you know, they can get around it by taking a pill or by, you know, sitting on the internet or finding some other distraction, that they don't realize that, like, I'm not saying everyone, but like for people who are not wanting to do that work, that they believe that there's some magical being that's going to just drop into their life and it's going to solve everything. And there's no place you can run far enough that you're not going to have to encounter yourself a million times over. Like, you can.
Yeah, I love seeing stuff like this. You know, I lost 78 pounds and worked my ass off, and it's your mindset, it's your attitude that does it. It's facing the things that you always made excuses for, and just deciding that you're not going to make any more excuses. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to do, but it's as simple as that, though. You know, it just is.
Well, I think people think it's a complicated process, but it really isn't.
It's not at all. It's not at all. It's just it's Occam's razor, you know? It's Occam's razor. It's the simplest solution is usually the correct one. It's the one that's right in front of your face that you've been trying to avoid, that you know is the truth, but you're just trying to find every other possible way around it, and you're fucking hitting a wall every other direction around that. But you're gonna have to walk through the fucking mud. It's just how that is. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna hit a wall walking through the smooth paved way, but the hole is beyond the mud, and there's no other way through it. So you're gonna have to crawl through the mud. There's just no other way.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking dirty.
And you got right, and you're gonna have to do it. And that dirt is that nastiness in you.
Yeah.
People don't want to face the fact that they're, you know, I always use Hitler as an example. People laugh at me about that shit.
Hitler's
See,
a good
you're on-
example, though. Let's face it.
but right. So Hitler thought that he was saving the world, right? He thought that the Jews and all the minorities were the evil that were plaguing this entire planet, and he was going to fix it all. So, but at the end of the day, truth is, this is a guy who committed genocide. You know, he killed millions of innocent people, and yet in his mind, he thought he was doing something great. He thought he was the world's savior, you know?
Well, and then we get into another topic of like perception, right? Like, you know, no matter what you think in life, you can't change the perception of somebody else. You just can't, you know? Like, so to try, you know, and I think that's where with Jamie, it's like beating your head against a brick wall, because it's like, you know, for as much as she's trying to change our perception, or as much as, you know, I'm trying to change her perception, like, it's just never going to happen. It's just like a total perception, like, standoff. It's never going to happen.
Right. Well, the only chance that girl has is to be at a point to where nobody wants anything to do with her ever. And then she's completely and totally alone, and then has to face the fact and do something about it, and face those things, and look at the actions, look at and face the fact that her actions are what have gotten her to that point. But as long as there's somebody enabling her, you know, and taking her side, and as long as there's somebody there that's willing to fight with her head on and go and engage in a little fucking bullshit YouTube war, you know, she's not going to change. She's not going to see things any differently. And
No.
it just is the way it is. So, you know,
It's shitty too when you're watching somebody like hit rock bottom. You're like just watching it happen. You're just like, fuck.
yeah, because you wish you could do something about it.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, she needs to do it. She needs to do it. And
Yeah. And I think that's why it's gotten so ugly, is because, you know, people just tend to be a mirror of yourself. Like, that's one thing I've noticed, is that like a lot of the things that I see in people that I don't like tend to be things that I don't like in myself. And so I've noticed that people just tend to be a mirror of myself, you know? And the things that I really like in people tend to be the things that I really like in myself. And I think for her, like, these people, you know, like myself or whatever, like writing these shitty comments about her or trying to trigger her, or like whatever's going on that she complains about, it's just a mirror, like, right back in her face of exactly how she's behaving towards others. And the pure, plain and simple. It's just a mirror. Like, nothing that's been said even remotely comes close, actually, to the shit that she's done.
yeah, no, I agree. I'm gonna close with this thought. You know, a part of me, like, if I say something like I wish her the best, that's an overstatement. Because sorry, I got distracted by a comment here. But anyway, if I were to say something like I wish her the best, you know, that's an overstatement, and I'll explain why. Would I be stoked and happy to see her finally have a moment of clarity and start taking steps to make changes for the positive? Sure, that would be really cool. But the truth is I don't give a shit enough about her to fucking hope for it. I don't. You know, that's the fucking truth. And I know that sounds shitty, but the truth, that's the truth, because I have nothing, I have no frame of reference of positivity from her where I see potential for her to behave in this certain way. You know, I have no hope for that. You know what I mean? Because I don't, I've seen nothing to make me think that she's capable of it. So would it be cool to see her, you know, flourish? Sure, that'd be great. I'd love to see that from anybody. But the fact is I have no hope for it because I have no reason to think that there would be. So I don't fucking care. So truth be told, you know, I mean, I, I I don't care if I ever hear from her again. You know, I don't care if I ever hear her name mentioned on this platform ever again.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm hoping I never hear her name mentioned on this platform ever again.
I mean, all the shit you put Robbie through, that was enough for me. You know, that was
Well, see, and that's what I find so fascinating because I'm just noticing Wendy V in the chat here before we get off, and that's what I find so frustrating is that there's like a lot of people entering into this that have no idea of the shit that she's been doing for the last like 3 fucking months. So all they're hearing is her running over to these other people saying, "Misery's a pedo. Misery's done this, he's done," and it's all just one big fucking distraction to distract from how shitty she is and what she's done to people because she can't take responsibility for her behavior. So she's got to blame somebody for it. And it's just an easy target for her because he's had these people gunning for him for a super long time. You know, if people knew a lot of the back history for that, they would be embarrassed that they're even involved in this shit.
right. And Wendy V, I mean, in response to your comment here, fucking ask him. Like, why are you in here asking us? I can't. Can anybody here actually speak for fucking Misery as far as what content he has on or on his channel or what he chooses to take off? Because I have mods, right? But none of them have any fucking say over what the fuck I share on my channel or what I talk about or what I say or what you know what I mean? Nobody has any fucking say over that. So what makes you think that anybody in my channel, where I'm not even one of his mods, I'm just the guy who likes his channel and I happen to be in his chat from time to time, what makes you think that anybody here has any control over or even any understanding, really a deep understanding of what he's doing with his channel and why he has the content that he has? That's we just listen to it, man. It's just a fucking channel. You know, the fact that people are so fucking concerned about this stuff bothers me. It doesn't even bother me. It's fascinating, you know, because I mean, this is a creator right here that I mean, who's gonna take bits and pieces of this live and create a narrative to mean whatever she wants it to mean when she posts it on her channel. And
Well, exactly, and twist it whichever way she wants to twist it, right? Like whatever, and it's easy to do on YouTube, which is why I'm just like, don't believe the shit you see on YouTube because it's so easy to twist a narrative. Like,
and anybody who fucking listens to it and takes however she twists it to fucking mean, you know, if that costs me subscribers, I don't want those subscribers anyway, man. I really honestly don't. Those are not people that I want in my chat. Those are not people I can relate to. Those are not people I can connect with. Those are not people that are going to get anything out of my channel, and I'm not going to get anything out of them being in my chats. So, you know, so I mean, Wendy V, knock yourself out, man.
yeah, you know, and I feel bad for the people that she's brought into this, you know, like these
I
other.
don't.
Well, I guess you should do your research, but I mean, it's just kind of like bringing these people into like a situation where they.
I mean, is she bringing them into it, or are they choosing to insert themselves into it based on her information?
Yes, there
See
you
what
go.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. I don't give a fuck what this lady does with my content, man. I
Yeah.
know that every single person in my chat listened to this, and I'm not getting any negative feedback. I have not. This has been a very, very, the most disruptive thing that has happened in this chat so far is Wendy V dropping that comment. Literally.
Yeah.
We've been on
Truth.
for over, we've been on
Truth.
for 3.5
Right there.
hours. We've been on for 3.5 fucking hours. And that is the most disruptive thing that has happened in this chat.
Yeah.
So,
True.
so put that on your next little video that you post, Wendy V.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, dude, Becca, it was fantastic talking to you. I absolutely love your channel. I cannot wait to see
Other content.
No, I mean, yes, but that's not a jab at you not having a lot of content. I mean, if anything, I was at the edge of my seat hoping to see more, and then I the last thing I expected was to hear Misery announce that you were going to do a live tonight. So immediately I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to hear what this is going to be. And you really you really knocked it out of the park, man. So I had a great time in your chat, and it was really insightful, and I really enjoyed listening to your perspective. So I really hope to hear a lot more of it. I can't wait.
Sweet. Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of excited about it too, but I really appreciate you bringing me on here. We should do Henry Rollins though. I'm serious, and maybe have chit chats about group homes.
Yeah, that was another thing. I have my own personal history with living in group homes as a kid, so we would have interesting conversations about that, because I didn't realize we had that in common as well.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in having discussions about that.
Dirt
With
digging.
not even just, it's just one of those things that a lot of people can't really they don't
Relate
know.
to.
Right. So I'm excited to discuss that on this platform. That'd be a first for me. So I look forward to these new experiences of what this platform can bring me.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I think we've met like I will leave it on a positive note. I think that's the one good thing about this thing with like what has happened with Jamie is that I think it brought a lot of really like cool people together. So that wasn't a bad thing. So I just see it as a positive and a win all around. I it probably just pisses her right off that it's been so positive, but
Yeah. This was really fun to me. I can't believe it's 7 a.m.
I know. Okay, go to bed.
All right.
Bye guys. Bye chat.
Bye guys. Thanks.